The battlefield is a mess, and the vibe is pure despair. Even the combined power of humans and demons could not stop the slaughter, leaving the ground soaked in blood. Amidst the ruin, only two figures remain standing. The war is over, but there is no winner here. The hero and the Demon King finally put their differences aside. They have gone from bitter enemies to the world's last hope in record time. The hero notes that they are the only ones left alive in this wasteland. Our boy just gives a short grunt in response, letting the heavy silence do the talking. The sky splits open as a dark vortex forms above the battlefield. Something is coming, and it does not look friendly. This nightmare started 10 years ago when cosmic invaders fell from the sky. Now the same monsters are back to finish the job. Some call this thing a god, while others see it as the end of times. Whatever the name, it is standing right in their path. A massive cloaked figure known as an outsider looms over the battlefield, ready to end it all. The hero doesn't flinch though, drawing her blade for a holy sword skill. She leaps into the air with everything she has, unleashing an ultimate strike that hits the monster dead on. The impact is massive, lighting up the entire wasteland. But the monster is barely scratched, and it's already moving for a counter. Before it can strike, the Demon King steps in to handle this oversized rag himself. He isn't playing around anymore, charging up level 10 magic for the God-Demon Annihilation. This is the kind of power that is supposed to level entire cities. The hero thanks him for the save, but the Demon King knows they are just stalling for time. More monsters are pouring out of the ground, and they are completely outnumbered. Taking down even one of these things took everything they had, and now an entire horde is staring them down. Our boy closes his eyes, thinking this is finally the end of the line. The Demon King is ready to go out in a blaze of glory, but the hero isn't finished yet. She activates a hidden trump card, trapping him inside a barrier before he can even react. Our boy is stuck behind a barrier and has no idea what is happening. The hero just stands there, telling him it is time for her final move. She explains her plan to warp space and time. This move is designed to launch his soul into a completely different era. The Demon King can't believe she has time travel hacks. She drops a bombshell revealing she was actually reincarnated from Earth in her past life. A flashback shows the goddess who gave her this power. This specific skill is called Reincarnation, and it is her ultimate trump card. She stares him down with a cold look. If she hits him with this, it will trigger a reverse reincarnation. The pressure from the barrier is unlike anything he has ever felt. It is way more intense than the energy from the outsiders. Everything goes back to 3 years ago. That is when a few hidden outsiders opened a dimensional rift that started this entire mess. A huge horde of outsiders is swarming the area. This is the invasion that ruined everything. The hero doesn't blink as she drops the plan. She is sending him back to a time long before any of this happened. She explains that killing the monsters before the rift ever opens is the only way to save the future. This is her reincarnation skill in action. The Demon King can feel the heavy pressure from her barrier. He gets the logic, but he is not ready to accept what is happening. He screams at her, asking why she isn't using this power on herself. He wants to know why he is the one being saved while she stays behind. She gives him a look that says it all. She doesn't want his journey to end here. Everything starts to fade as his memories take over. He is thinking back to the very beginning. The beef between the Demon King and the human hero Valentina goes way back. They were supposed to be enemies, but they decided to change the script. Instead of going for the throat, they decided to try something radical. No more fighting, just straight up talking it out. Flashback to the peak days when they were actually making it work. They shared drinks with monsters and worked together to build a world where everyone could just vibe. Later that night at the castle, the atmosphere shifted. The weight of everything they built together was finally coming to the surface. She drops a major truth bomb that changes everything. For her, it was love at first sight. Back in the present, the mood does a complete 180. To make this time travel plan work, the hero has to sacrifice her own life. She is not backing down from the giant horde of monsters. If this is her final act as a hero, she is going out in a blaze of glory. Valentina pauses while the Demon King desperately begs her to wait. Since this is the end, she decides it is time to reveal her final secret. Her mind goes back to the very first day they met. She admits there was a specific reason she chose not to strike him down when they were supposed to be enemies. She looks back with a soft smile, reminding him that her feelings for him began the very first time they met. The Demon King stands frozen in shock as she turns and bolts toward the horizon. He screams her name into the void, but she has already made her choice. She tears through the monster swarm with zero hesitation. The Demon King can only scream for her to stop as she disappears into the chaos. The monsters surround the glowing barrier and try to claw their way inside to get to the man trapped within. Our boy lets out a guttural scream of pure despair as he realizes what she's doing. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupts, swallowing everything around him. When the light fades, the scene cuts to the massive stone walls of the royal slave arena. Deep inside the dungeon, a young boy sits silently in his cell. A guard interrupts the boy's training session to drop off a bowl of food. Our boy tries to stay respectful, but the vibe in this cell is definitely not friendly. The guard proves he is a total menace by spitting right into the bowl. He just watches with a twisted smirk as the kid realizes his only meal is now ruined. He walks away laughing and calls it his special spice. He even brings up the boy's past, claiming he would be eating a feast right now if his mother hadn't poisoned his father. The kid doesn't take the insult lying down. He looks the guard dead in the eye and tells him the whole thing was a setup. He is convinced his mother was framed by jealous nobles who couldn't handle his father's love for her. For him, those high society women are nothing but dirty vixens. That was a huge mistake. The guard cracks his knuckles and delivers a heavy blow to the face for the crime of insulting the nobility. It doesn't stop there. The guard starts kicking him while he's down, mockingly claiming he is being kind by only beating him half to death. This world is basically just the haves versus the have-nots. Flashback to the worst day ever. His mom was framed for killing a noble and sent to the guillotine without a single shred of evidence or a fair trial. Reality hits hard when the guard grabs him by the hair. He asks if the kid finally gets where he stands while our boy just grunts through the pain. The guard finally lets go and brushes off his hands. He is done for the day since there is a major fight scheduled for tomorrow. He hits him with one last insult, calling him an illegitimate child who should feel lucky to be used in a real noble debut match. Our boy tries to claim his father warrior blood still flows in him, but the guard just laughs. He thinks it is a joke that a kid who never even learned to fight thinks he can win with a dull sword. The kid is not backing down though. He knows that even a blunt blade is deadly if you just aim for the gaps in the armor. The guard waves him off with a smirk, telling him to enjoy his dreams while he still can. Our boy is left alone on the cold floor. The heavy iron door slams shut, locking him in the dark. He forces himself to stand up and grab that training sword, even if his body is completely trashed. Looking down at his hands, things are looking grim. His palms are raw and bleeding, making a win in tomorrow match feel like a pipe dream. But he refuses to quit and grips the handle even harder. Victory is the only way to earn his freedom, so he has to push through. He spends the entire night swinging that blade in the dark. He does not care about the blood or the pain. He just needs to get used to the weight. The next morning, the scene shifts to the massive royal arena. The crowd is roaring as our boy stands across from a smug, freckled knight in full plate armor. The knight immediately starts trash-talking, mocking the kid for his fallen noble status. He thinks the match is already over before it even started. The knight keeps the insults coming, claiming that our boy's commoner blood is the only reason he ended up as a slave. He smirks, bragging that taking out a Habsburg heir in his debut match will finally give him the prestige he craves. Our boy just glares, unable to believe how shameless this dude is. Snapping back, our boy asks what kind of pride comes from winning such an unfair fight. The knight just looks baffled, as if the concept of fairness isn't even in his vocabulary. Gesturing to the crowd, the knight explains that in this world, everything is decided the moment you're born. He lets out a laugh, gloating about how lucky he is to have pure noble blood from both parents. Our boy grits his teeth, clearly reaching his limit with this guy's ego. Turning toward the VIP section, he calls out to his father to watch his big moment. Up on the balcony, a wealthy noble sits back with a smug grin, ready for the show. A referee steps in to see if they are ready to get this started. The knight gives a casual wave, acting like the whole match is just a formality. The ref lays down the law, stating that magic is strictly off limits. This is going to be a pure sword fight. The knight just smirks, claiming he cannot even use magic anyway. He calls it a handicap for our boy. He keeps the trash talk going, saying it would be unfair to just roast him with fire magic from a distance. He wants this to be a real battle. Our boy glares right back at him. It is pretty bold for a guy in full plate armor to talk about fair fights. The referee signals for them to face each other. The tension in the stadium is through the roof. The signal finally drops and the match is officially underway. The knight charges in like a madman, swinging his blade with lethal intent. Our boy just barely gets his head out of the way as the steel whistles past. Full aggro mode. The knight unleashes a flurry of wild swings that force our boy into a desperate defense. He just keeps shouting while their blades clash over and over. Laughing like a villain, the knight taunts the kid to actually try and fight back. Our boy realizes that this dude's strength is the real deal, and not just empty talk. He leans in with a smug grin to remind the boy about the gap between their training. The pressure is clearly starting to take its toll. The kid suddenly backs off and begs for a timeout with his hand raised. This actually catches the knight off guard, leaving him standing there looking confused. Pure desperation. He admits that he was reckless to even try and fight. In his mind, there is simply no way he can overcome someone with this much skill. Hand raised. He officially calls out his surrender right there in front of the entire crowd. The knight just finds the whole thing hilarious and mocks him for being a coward. Mockery at its finest. The knight sticks his tongue out before coldly explaining that surrender is not an option. This is a death match, and only one person is leaving alive. Our boy suddenly turns tail and runs, hoping to lure the knight into a false sense of security. It looks like cowardice, but he is just waiting for the perfect opening. The confusion only lasts for a second before the freckled knight's ego takes over. He is fuming that his big debut is being ruined by someone who refuses to stand and fight. He gives chase with a twisted grin, convinced that this is just a useless struggle. To him, the boy's fate was sealed the moment the match started. A sudden pivot changes everything. Arrogance is a dangerous thing, and the knight just left himself wide open for the one thing he didn't expect. He slips past a sloppy swing that barely even counts as real swordsmanship. When you're playing with your food, your movements become way too easy to read. The goal is clear. Even full plate armor has a weakness, and the boy is betting everything on a single strike to the face. The tables turn in an instant as a physical barrier spell shatters all hope. That shimmering shield stops the counterattack dead in its tracks, proving the gap between them is still massive. Wait, defensive magic. Our boy is floored that his opponent is straight up cheating in front of everyone. He tries to call out the foul, but the ref pulls the classic dust in my eye excuse. This whole match is rigged from the start. No time to argue, the knight lunges back in for the kill, while our MC is still processing the betrayal. Cornered and beaten, the knight mocks him for even trying to fight back and promises to send him to the same place as his mother. Zero mercy, he delivers a final blow that pierces right through our boy as the crowd watches on. The ref calls the match and crowns the cheater as the winner. Lord Gaston soaks up the cheers like he actually did something impressive. Everything goes dark. As he lies in a pool of his own blood, his consciousness begins to slip away. A slit pupil snaps open as our boy slips away. Blood drips from his bandaged hand. In his place, the demon king within has awakened. Valentina's crazy time travel plan has officially paid off. Reverse reincarnation complete. Gaston is already claiming victory, but his father sees the real threat. The celebration is definitely premature. The mood shifts instantly when the knight realizes he is not alone in the ring. A dead man walking is the last thing he expected to see. Despite the fatal wound, the boy ignores the laws of physics and charges. There's no more pain, only the goal. Desperation leads to a massive defensive spell meant to stop any physical attack. Gaston thinks this shimmering wall makes him untouchable. He laughs at the idea of a human breaking through high-level magic. He is about to learn that some things are stronger than spells. The impossible happens as the barrier shatters like fragile glass. That one kick just proved that no amount of cheating can save him now. Gaston's whole world gets rocked as that kick lands, turning his smug face into a mess of shock and spit. Standing his ground, our boy watches as the undefeatable knight gets launched across the arena like a rag doll. The stadium wall becomes a temporary grave for this dude, who is left unconscious by the blast. Crushing the broken remains of the fight underfoot, he looks up at the terrified noble. To think I'd meet such filth the moment I woke up, he mutters, having zero patience for the trash talk. Back at the stadium, Gaston's father is losing his mind. He was promised an easy win for his son, but things just went south. Storming into the back office, he screams for the manager to explain this mess. The arena manager stays cool. He reminds the noble that a professional match cannot just be undone on a whim. That did not go over well. The noble slams the desk, demanding a refund for the bribe he clearly paid. The vibe shifts as the manager grabs him by the neck. He holds up the contract the noble already signed. One threat of taking this to the royal court is all it takes to shut the old man up. Dropping the act, the manager smiles and says he still values their business relationship. He reminds the guy that rich nobles are his best customers. The manager isn't playing games, adjusting his monocle while promising to bet the entire reputation of his stadium on this move. He's ready to put that kid through a living hell. He calls over his assistant to get things moving. She pulls up the documents for tomorrow's match, ready to drop a bombshell. Meet the absolute nightmare known as Ainz the Headhunter. This dude is sitting on a mountain of bodies like it is just another Tuesday. The noble's face says it all, recognizing the name of a fighter who is famous for being a complete monster. The manager leans in with a dark grin, admitting he can't change the past loss. Instead, he promises a slaughter so brutal it will satisfy any thirst for revenge. That's music to the old man's ears, and he starts laughing like a cartoon villain. He tells the manager to make sure the execution is as flashy as possible. He heads out of the office with a huge smile, finally getting the bloody entertainment he paid for. The assistant just watches him go while the boss stays cool. The manager spills the tea, revealing that sucking up to the noble was just a performance. The order to take out our boy actually came straight from the top of the food chain, the Evans family. We are talking about a legendary house of warriors founded by the god of war himself. They are basically the final bosses of the noble world. Even with their blood in his veins, the manager knows there's zero chance the kid ever takes over. He is just cleaning up loose ends to stay on the safe side. Back at the stadium, the atmosphere takes a dark turn as a monster starts licking his chops. The crowd is roaring for blood while this creep gets ready to play with his food. This is Ainz the Headhunter, a complete freak with a massive scythe. Our boy is standing there with nothing but a wooden sword, and the odds are looking non-existent. The assistant is all smiles as our boy is served up as a sacrificial lamb. The boss watches from the stands, satisfied that his bloody debt is being paid in full. Ainz can barely contain himself, drooling over how much fun he is going to have with such a cute target. He is looking forward to adding another head to his collection while the boy keeps his cool. Ainz leans in with a creepy grin while the kid stays focused on his bandages. He has no idea he is about to get humbled. The kid asks if the match has already started. That is one cold way to end the conversation. His mask starts cracking into pieces. The big guy realizes he messed with the wrong one. He gets launched across the stadium. The crowd cannot believe a wooden sword just ended a legend. The arena is roaring as the boy stands alone. He is already moving on to the next one. In the back rooms, everyone is whispering. They cannot stop talking about the new monster in the arena. One win turns into a streak. He stacks up 8 victories in a row against the deadliest fighters around. Even in an arena built for slaughter, our boy stays sticking to his code and refuses to take a life. Spending time in the trenches has made 2 things very clear. He is nowhere near his full power since he is stuck in this tiny vessel. But on the bright side, this kid's bloodline is a total jackpot. His memories are coming back and they confirm he belongs to a world-class clan of war gods. Now he just needs to grind his way back to his prime. Luckily, there is no shortage of practice targets in this dump. He is about to show them what a real monster looks like. The arena manager is sweating bullets right now. This was supposed to be a simple execution, but things are spiraling out of control. The instructions from the powerful Evans family were very specific. The kid was supposed to be taken out for good. Instead of dying, he has been on a total tear with an unstoppable winning streak. Worst of all, his no-kill code is actually winning over the crowd. The fans are starting to love his style of fighting. If he keeps this up, the nobles will pull their support and the arena will go under. His assistant steps in with a cold plan to fix the situation. They have something special prepared for today's match. To finally crush the kid, they announce a brutal 10-on-1 handicap match. Our boy just narrows his eyes, looking ready to collect more wins. The manager and his assistant are already on edge, worried that their special rules might trigger a full-scale riot. Suddenly, the office door is slammed open, shattering the tension. A guard rushes in, looking like he is about to have a heart attack. The manager snaps at him for the intrusion, demanding to know what could be so urgent. The guard delivers the news that the head of the Wilson family wants to speak immediately. A mysterious figure from the past seems to haunt the air as the name is spoken. The manager is left speechless, his face going pale at the mention of such a powerful house. This was definitely not part of the plan. Back in the arena, the boy stands surrounded by a mob of enemies. This was the exact moment he lost his life and became a vessel for the ancient power within. His true name is Milo Habsburg, and that name holds more power than anyone in this stadium could possibly imagine. It all started with a clan of elite masters known as the War Gods. This bloodline birthed legendary houses like the Evans family and over 10 other prestigious branch families. Every single one of them is considered top-tier royalty in this world. Despite his legendary bloodline, the world thinks the Habsburg family has completely lost its touch. They claim nobody in the clan has any real talent for the sword anymore. But there is one detail that everyone is missing about this kid. He is officially the next in line to lead the entire family. To decide who carries the title of War God, every single relative from the branch families is called in. Candidates from 13 to 29 years old are forced to gather and prove their worth. Performance in these succession matches is the only thing that matters for your rank in the family. It is a brutal system where only the strongest survive the cut. Since the Habsburg family is currently lacking any decent warriors, they are completely out of options. They are forced to rely on whatever talent they can find, no matter how desperate the situation. Milo stands over the defeated mob and simply closes his eyes, completely unfazed by the chaos he just caused. Memories and possible futures fracture around him like broken glass as he prepares for whatever comes next. The guards think they caught our boy lacking when he stops paying attention. This dude really thinks he has a chance at an easy kill. That is a fatal mistake. Milo counters with a brutal strike that shuts him up for good. He is not just fighting for his life. Reclaiming the status of a war god is the only way he can prepare for the coming invasion. As the fodder finally hits the floor, the arena gates swing open. It looks like some high-level guests have been watching the whole time. The mission is clear. Climb the ranks, secure his place in the main family, and take back everything they stole from him. A mysterious girl with a high ponytail approaches from behind. She is the first person in this hellhole who actually knows his real name. She is not here for small talk. After watching him dismantle 10 slave fighters like they were nothing, she has a specialized request for him. The girl with the ponytail gets straight to the point and offers him a deal. She promises that if he succeeds, she will restore the honor of both him and his mother. Milo listens closely as the stakes finally get real. A scenic carriage ride provides the backdrop for a heavy history lesson. Milo sits in the back and tries to process the mountain of info she just dumped on him. To sum it all up, his family tree is a complete mess. It all starts with the Evans family. They are the direct bloodline of the legendary war god and are known as the undisputed masters of the sword. Our boy's family, the Habsburgs, are just one of the many side branches that split off from that main lineage. He keeps a level head as he realizes exactly where he fits into this hierarchy. Then there is her own house. The Wilsons, they are an even smaller branch that eventually broke away from the Habsburg line. There's just one massive problem. The Wilson family has been cursed with 0 male heirs, leaving them with nothing but daughters for generations. Because they lack a male candidate for the mandatory trials, the whole house is on the brink of being dismantled. It is a straight-up survival crisis, and they are facing a total wipeout unless they find a workaround fast. She lays it all out. The plan is to adopt him into the family so he can enter the war god selection trials as their official representative. Our boy does not miss a beat. He wants to be absolutely sure the reward includes clearing his name and restoring his mother's honor. A cold, simple confirmation follows. That is exactly what is on the table. The stakes are higher than just a legal contract. She makes it clear that he needs to be ready to die for this cause. These trials are basically a meat grinder. Between the brutal training and the lethal duels, most candidates do not make it out alive. Survival is not even the final hurdle. If he actually starts showing talent, the other houses will send assassins and poisoners to finish him off. As the carriage continues through the woods, Milo pieces the puzzle together. Her family is desperate for a male heir to prevent their bloodline from being erased. Milo thought about the proposition. Adoption would save her family line, but he knew there had to be more to it. He looked at her and asked why she was being so open about the dangers. Most people would have hidden the risks to keep him from backing out. She explained that her family lived by a code of honor and honesty. If she expected him to risk his life, she had to be straightforward with him. Olivia looked him straight in the eyes and confirmed her decision. She had already resolved to tell him the truth without holding anything back. Our boy asked for her name since they were making a deal. She introduced herself as Olivia Wilson, the current head of her household. Milo respected the fact that she treated a slave with such fairness, but the moment did not last. A sudden, violent impact slammed into the carriage and sent them flying. Olivia did not hesitate and drew her blade. She stepped out into the chaos as her coachman shouted for her in a panic. A bone-masked monster just turned their horse into a snack and is clearly still hungry. This beast is purely built for destruction, and it just ruined their travel plans. Olivia realizes they are facing a devil grizzly, a monster that has no business being this close to a public road. Milo points out that it is currently breeding season, making this massive predator way more aggressive than usual. She does not hesitate and draws her blade while ordering the others to stay back. Standing her ground, she makes it clear that she is the only one here who can handle a beast of this caliber. When the coachman panics and asks for backup, she tells him to focus on getting Milo to safety, because there's no time to wait for the knights. Our boy looks at her with total indifference and says she has 0 chance of winning this fight. Olivia is not happy about the sudden shade, but the kid is dead serious. Olivia is losing it because the kid is actually walking toward the monster. She tells him to stay back and leave the fighting to the pros. She tries to stop him before he does something stupid. This monster is a different level than the gladiators he used to fight. Olivia warns him that he has no chance. She tells him not to waste his life just to prove a point. Milo finally breaks his silence with a question that catches her completely off guard. He asks her which one of them is actually about to die. He decides to take over the job himself. The time for talking is officially over. He scoffs at her attempt to play hero against a wild beast. The grizzly roars and goes in for the kill while he prepares to strike. With one heavy swing, Milo meets the monster head-on. The force of the impact sends a shockwave through the trees. The grizzly lets out a final roar as Milo ends the fight in an instant. One clean hit sends the massive predator crashing face first into the dirt. Olivia is left speechless by the sheer gap in their power. Milo casually brushes himself off, privately noting that her spirit reminds him of someone from his past. A new resolution takes hold as he decides to match her energy. If she is going to be righteous, he promises to face every obstacle head-on from now on. This is the end of the line for their shared journey. After handling the final paperwork, she wishes him luck and lets him head toward his next destination. The facility looms ahead, a massive sprawl of stone and iron. This is the heart of the selection process for the next war god. Training grounds are buzzing with activity. From group drills to individual sparring, the entire facility is a dedicated factory for warriors. He is not exactly impressed by the grand display. Milo scoffs at the amount of resources humans pour into useless buildings in the middle of nowhere. As soon as Milo steps in, the whispers start. "Hey, check him out," one of the trainees mutters to his buddy. The haters are already out in full force. They are dragging his name through the dirt, calling him a former slave and a stain on his noble house. Our boy realizes he is officially in enemy territory. Instead of folding, he just lets out a cold smirk. Interesting, he notes. He actually loves the bad vibes. According to him, the more obstacles he has to face, the better it feels to tear them down. Our boy arrives at the massive selection facility only to realize he is completely lost. That guide map he is holding is clearly not helping him find his way. He starts wandering the grounds, noting how massive this place actually is, until someone calls out to him from the side. A guy named Jasper tries to play the friendly neighborhood guide. Milo is not interested and just keeps it moving like he did not hear a thing. Jasper has to scramble to stop him, and Milo finally turns around to ask what he actually wants. He is definitely not in the mood for small talk. It turns out the guide map he got at the gate is a complete scam. Jasper is the first one to point out that he has been played by the gatekeeper. Apparently some seniors pay the staff to prank rookies with fake maps. Milo is not impressed by the childish behavior at this elite school. Jasper offers to show him the actual way to the dorms. Milo decides to follow him toward the main building, since wandering around aimlessly is just a waste of time. Jasper keeps the conversation going as they walk through the grounds. He seems pretty amused by the info he picked up from another guy. Elsewhere, we get a view of the massive selection facility. This is where every male from the main Evans line and its branches is gathered. The training here is intense and constant. Every single session is monitored to decide who is actually worthy of the War God title. Based on their sword skills and raw talent, each candidate gets sorted into a specific category. The system is simple. Everyone gets assigned a rank ranging from E all the way up to S. But even with all these elite fighters, the top spot is totally empty. Not a single person has managed to reach S rank yet. Jasper mentions they are almost at the destination. Looking at the dark entrance, it is clear the dorms are in a pretty gloomy location. Milo just stares in silence. Jasper finally drops the nice guy act and tells Milo that everyone in this place actually hates his guts because of his slave status. He leads him into a quiet room while explaining that this is exactly why people have been harassing him since he arrived. The vibe shifts instantly as Jasper reveals he was the one behind the map prank all along and has led Milo straight into a trap. The seniors are already calling him today's catch, but Milo just stares back with a look that says he is not impressed. Our boy connects the dots on the gatekeeper's scam, and Jasper actually starts clapping for his big brain moment. He admits the whole fake map situation was just a shortcut to bring Milo here for a warm welcome. Jasper doubles down on the disrespect, calling Milo's skills nothing but barbarian trash that does not belong in a noble house. Jasper claims that having a former slave around is an insult to the legendary Evans bloodline. He makes it clear that lumping nobles in with someone like Milo is just bad for business. With a simple snap of his fingers, the nice guy act is officially over. He calls for Silas and Theodore to step up and handle the situation. Two massive goons close in on our boy while Jasper watches with a wicked grin. He tells his lackeys to show the rookie that there are levels to this game. Meet Jasper Blackwood. His sword skills are definitely top tier, but his real weapon is his ability to play the political field like a pro. Bro basically bought his way to the top before the trials even started. He used his family fortune to turn rival candidates into his own personal squad. This strategy worked perfectly. By the time he walked through the front door, he already had an overwhelming amount of power in the facility. The other trainees are so terrified of him that they basically treat him like royalty. They trip over themselves just to offer him a seat or a favor. Jasper is playing the long game here. If the pressure breaks our boy, that is one less low-class eyesore in the facility. But if he actually survives, Jasper just scored himself a high-quality pawn with some real backbone. He breaks out into a loud villain laugh, feeling way too confident in his master plan. The goal is to use this beatdown to terrify the other rookies and keep his faction on top. Silas is busy glazing his boss, but Milo cuts the tension with a very basic request. He wants to know exactly where they hid his wooden sword so he can finish this. The seniors absolutely lose it, finding his request for a weapon to be a total joke. They make it clear that a wooden sword is the last thing he should expect to see today. Silas gets right in his face with a nasty smirk, promising that things are about to get ugly. He tells our boy that this is not a duel. It is just a one-sided demolition. Milo takes the hint and drops into a low stance, ready to get down to business. Since they want to play dirty, he decides that a starting signal is just a waste of time. Before anyone can even track his movement, Bro completely disappears from the center of the room. He teleports right behind one of the goons, turning their confidence into pure panic. Our boy doesn't wait for a signal and connects a brutal kick to the senior's jaw. Jasper stands there in absolute shock, unable to believe how fast this rookie just moved. The second lackey tries to step in with a swing, but he might as well be moving in slow motion. MC ducks the strike and delivers a heavy counter that folds the guy like a lawn chair. The impact is so massive it turns the nearby barrels into splinters. Milo just cracks his neck and looks disappointed, asking if that was really all they had for a warm-up. The entire training hall goes dead silent. The other trainees can only watch in horror as they realize the power dynamic in this room just did a total shift. Jasper is literally shaking as he tries to process what just happened. He can't believe his D-class enforcers were just dismantled by someone using nothing but their bare hands. He looks into our MC's eyes and sees a monster staring back. The realization finally sinks in that he just picked a fight with the wrong person. Milo walks right up to the boss man with a cold stare. He remains completely unbothered while Jasper stands there shaking in his boots. Milo clenches his fist and tells them to quit yapping. He wants to know exactly when they plan on showing him this supposed difference in their status. Our boy stands his ground in the center of the hall while the group of seniors stays frozen. The air is heavy with silence as nobody dares to make the next move. Jasper finally starts to realize he picked a fight with a literal monster. He admits he thought our boy was just an untrained former slave, but he clearly miscalculated. The boss man reflects on the legendary Habsburg name. He never imagined someone from that lineage would be such a beast at hand-to-hand combat. Milo doesn't care about his own reputation and just wants to know if they are actually going to scrap. The seniors are visibly shaken, realizing a direct fight would be a disaster. Jasper decides to tuck his tail and play it cool, telling the rookie he will let him off just for today. He hits them with a fake polite goodbye before walking out the door. As they head down the stone hallway, Silas asks his boss why they really backed down. Jasper is left questioning everything he thought he knew about the power gap. Jasper is currently quoting the classics for a reason. Charging in blind is a major mistake when dealing with a total wildcard like our MC. Massive ego aside, he knows better than to ignore the facts. This rookie is built different and definitely needs a special approach. Everyone thought this dude was just a low-level former slave with zero technique. Instead, he turned out to be a master fighter who completely flipped the script. The best part for Jasper is that he is the only one who knows how dangerous Milo really is. Information is power, and he is keeping this secret to himself for now. It might seem like a small detail, but he knows this intel will give him a major edge during the upcoming selection trials. He needs to weigh his options carefully and see how he can use this situation to his advantage. His lackey is already glazing the calculated move. Jasper is currently thinking 5 steps ahead, officially marking Milo as a target to watch. The next morning arrives and Milo is already deep in a bamboo forest, wishing he had time to unpack his stuff. An old man tells him to quit whining since every newcomer has to go through this ritual. The rules are simple. Follow the path to find a stone monument left by the original war god. Bringing back the right answer to a single question will officially qualify him for the selection trials. There is a catch though. This forest is the prime hunting ground for a creature called the Thunder Tiger, and a class monster like that is a walking death sentence for normal people. A pack of these cats is such a threat the government marks them as a national disaster. The examiner explains that taking the correct path means avoiding the tiger entirely, making this a simple test of nerves. Milo is not interested in a lecture on courage and asks if he can just head straight for the finish line. The old man loses his cool, screaming for the rookie to listen until he has actually finished talking. The examiner watches him go, wondering if the kid has nerves of steel, or if he is just too clueless to care. Further into the bamboo, Milo finds a wooden sign pointing him toward the monument. Silas watches from the shadows with a grin, happy to see the MC fall for a fake sign. Jasper might want to play it safe, but Silas is still salty about his broken nose and wants the tiger to do his dirty work. Silas is really out here praying for the forest to take Milo out so he doesn't have to. Deep in the bamboo forest, the silence is shattered as a thunder tiger lunges from the shadows. Our boy just reaches for his sword, already 3 steps ahead of the beast. Faster than a blink, Milo draws his blade and meets the beast head-on with a masterclass in timing. It is the kind of speed that makes a high-level monster look like a rookie. One clean strike later, and the predator becomes the prey before it even realizes the fight started. He hoped dropping the first one would send a message, but the forest has other plans. The rustling in the bamboo confirms that the rest of the pack is not going anywhere. The situation goes from bad to worse as the solo hunt turns into an ambush. Tigers circle in from every angle, cutting off any chance of a quiet exit. Despite the surrounding threat, Milo stays locked in. He drops a casual reminder that even if he hates unnecessary killing, he is still the man they once called the Demon King. Milo makes it clear he is not the type to just take hits and play nice. If someone drops sparks on him, he is going to make sure they feel the burn. The examiner finally shows up, wondering if the other trainees were the reason for the delay. He assumes our boy just got caught up in some rookie hazing. Panicked, the old man rushes into the clearing, terrified that a simple prank turned into a lethal mistake. He can't believe the seniors would take things this far, thinking he is about to find a corpse. He stops dead in his tracks when he sees a pile of high-level monsters littering the ground. It finally clicks that the kid he was worried about is actually the one doing the hunting. The old man starts realizing that this generation of candidates is built different. Finding someone capable of soloing a thunder tiger used to be a once-in-a-lifetime event, but Milo just did it without breaking a sweat. He strokes his beard, impressed that the talent pool this year is actually overflowing with monsters. For a guy who has seen it all, this is a major plot twist. Our MC is not interested in the praise and just wants to get this over with. He tells the examiner he finished the task and is ready for the next step. The examiner gets serious, asking what someone like him actually wants to achieve as a warrior. Milo lets the question sink in for a second before he starts to give his answer. Standing in the quiet bamboo grove, our boy looks straight up at the light. The heavens, he says, that is all I am after. Olivia is just trying to enjoy some tea at the guest lodge, but the local haters are already working overtime. They are whispering about how she is a total disgrace for bringing a former slave into the selection trials. One noblewoman is really laying it on thick, calling the whole move disgusting and a stain on their family legacy. She is convinced that our boy is going to fail so hard that Olivia will never show her face again. The group keeps laughing like they just told the funniest joke of the century. Olivia ignores the noise and starts walking right past them. Without saying a word, she dumps her entire cup of tea right onto the leader face. The lady is frozen in shock as the warm liquid ruins her expensive look. Olivia warns them to keep her candidate's name out of their mouths if they know what is good for them. The noblewoman face twists into a mask of pure rage as she starts hurling insults back. Standing her ground, Olivia turns her back and starts to walk away without a second thought. The nobles are still fuming, shouting that the slave brat is definitely going to run away when the real fighting starts. The head hater gets in one last scream, promising that Olivia is only piling on her own shame. She is basically counting down the minutes until she can watch the whole plan fail. Olivia is officially done with the noble drama. She is ready to swallow her pride and endure any gossip to see her plan through. Walking away, her mind drifts back to the moment Milo soloed that devil grizzly. There are plenty of strong warriors in the trials, but that feat was on another level. On paper, the odds of a former slave becoming a war god are 0, but logic is the last thing on her mind right now. She is certain our boy has a hidden quality. It is a gut feeling she just cannot ignore. Her path leads to a remote cabin deep in the woods. She spots smoke rising and knows she is in the right place. Suddenly, a voice rumbles from right behind her. She has 0 clue how he managed to close the distance without a sound. Olivia snaps into a combat stance with her sword ready. The veteran warrior just laughs, clearly enjoying the sudden tension. Olivia senses a terrifying aura radiating from the man. He acts polite, but she knows there is a monster hiding behind that calm smile. She realizes this man is actually the legendary First War god. His presence alone is enough to make any seasoned warrior freeze in their tracks. He gives Olivia a quick once-over and nods his approval. Apparently, her fighting stance is actually good enough to earn a rare compliment from the legend. Too bad the legend turns out to be a total pervert. He starts guessing her body measurements out loud, and Olivia is barely holding back from drawing her sword right then and there. She ignores the weird energy and gets straight down to business. She needs an update on how our boy Milo is handling the actual trials. The old man just smirks and gestures for her to follow him. He promises that he is about to show her something truly interesting. They head toward a small cabin tucked away deep in the bamboo woods. Whatever Olivia sees inside has her completely frozen in shock. Olivia is speechless looking at the massive pile of dead tigers. Even the veteran warrior admits he has never seen anyone go this hard on a simple entrance ritual before. She is staring at the carcasses in total disbelief. She knew Milo was strong after the grizzly fight, but taking out an entire pack of national disasters is just on another level. The old man tells her to keep this whole scene a secret. If word gets out that a rookie did this, it would break the entire selection system and give Milo way too much special treatment. He explains that legends like him should not get too involved in the selection process. It is better to let the local staff handle the recruits while they just watch from the sidelines. Clasping his prayer beads, the veteran stops for a second. He has one final thought about the monster they just recruited into their ranks. He looks back with a knowing smirk. In his eyes, Milo is not just a strong fighter. He is a top-tier Joker card that is about to flip this entire world upside down. The old man waves goodbye as he heads off to perform the final trial for the remaining candidates. Olivia is left standing there, still trying to process the fact that she just found the literal main character. Back at the main facility, the trial examiner stops dead in his tracks. He sees a legendary figure waiting by the entrance and stammers, asking why the man is even there. Elsewhere, the scene jumps to the massive assembly hall where the next phase of the trials is set to begin. A sea of candidates flows toward the grand stone structure. Inside the Hall of 100 Martial Arts, the sheer number of competitors is on full display. Warriors from across the kingdom pack the ornate room waiting for the official start. Our boy Milo blends into the crowd as the opening announcements ring out. The supervisors confirm that the final candidate is finally here, and the real selection is about to kick off. A muscular supervisor with a giant sword and a cocky grin steps onto the podium. He introduces himself as Arrow Smith, one of the high-ranking officials in charge of the testing. The room starts buzzing the moment he speaks. Everyone recognizes him as a member of the 10 Sword Saints, who climbed the ranks through raw power despite having no noble lineage. Arrow tries to start the orientation, but a blonde noble with a major attitude cuts him off. He steps out from the crowd and flexes his status as the eldest son of House Zane, looking down on the supervisor. The noble is not feeling the supervisor's vibe at all. He starts yapping about bloodlines and demands to know why a non-noble is acting so high and mighty. Smith just laughs it off. He sarcastically praises the guy's energy while getting ready to shut him down. Suddenly, a wave of pure pressure explodes from the supervisor. The noble can barely process what is happening before the force hits him like a truck. The entire room watches in shock as the arrogant candidate is sent flying across the hall. The noble hits the deck with a painful groan. Smith stands tall, having cleared a massive path through the crowd with nothing but his presence. The rest of the trainees are shook. They can't believe a human being can blow people away just by flexing their aura. Smith looks down at the fallen noble with zero pity. He makes it clear that their family names and fancy titles mean absolutely nothing inside these walls. He declares that this facility runs on raw power and nothing else. If they can't handle the heat, they should just go home and cry to their parents. While everyone else is still picking their jaws up off the floor, Milo just stands there casually adjusting his gear. The trainees cannot wrap their heads around it, whispering that the supervisor must have missed him on purpose. Milo and Smith both know the truth as they lock eyes in a heavy silence. Without a second thought, Smith draws his massive blade and brings it crashing down. The air itself seems to scream as the sword stops just hair widths away from Milo's face. Our boy does not even flinch, staring down the lethal edge like it is nothing more than a breeze. The crowd is officially losing it. They can't believe the rookie just stood completely still with a sword saint's blade inches from his neck. Smith narrows his eyes and finally asks the question on everyone's mind, "Why didn't you move?" Explains that he was tracking Milo's every movement, looking for a tell or a spark of fear. He was watching for even the slightest shift in Milo's gaze or a reaction to his killing intent. Milo's response is cold and simple. He tells the supervisor straight to his face that he knew the sword was not going to hit. There was no point in wasting energy dodging a strike that was never intended to land. Smith cannot help but crack a wide, predatory grin at that answer. This kid has some serious guts, and the supervisor is officially intrigued. He lowers his stance and makes a wild offer. "So, do you want to go a few rounds with me?" Elsewhere, the story of the legendary Evans bloodline is laid out across the map. Their name carries weight far beyond any single border, acting as a global standard for martial excellence. From humble dojos to the courts of high nobility, the Evans influence is everywhere. His influence stretches from commoner dojos to noble training grounds and military high commands. With a following that crosses every social class, the student count easily blows past 1,000,000. The peak starts with the War God, descending through the Evans Elders and the 4 Sword Emperors. Next in line are the 10 Sword Kings, the 10 Sword Saints, and those with full mastery of the blade. Rounding out the pyramid are the rankings from Master Class down to the common low-rank swordsman. Starting from nothing as a commoner, Smith ground his way up to become the 3rd-ranked Sword Saint. He sits at rank 22 out of 1,000,000, making him a true beast among beasts. Doesn't hold back, activating his Rakshasa form to push his body to the limit. He stares the kid down and tells him to quit being a greenhorn and get in a stance. A massive shockwave of pure energy explodes from Arrow's body, sending a violent gust of wind across the entire arena. The other trainees can't believe their eyes, wondering how a basic physical enhancement is producing such an insane level of pressure. Arrow's battle spirit is on a completely different level, possessing a quality and quantity that these average fighters can't even comprehend. Facing an opponent this strong finally forces Milo to take things seriously, and he acknowledges the insane power of a true sword saint. Instead of backing down, a twisted grin spreads across his face as his heart begins to race for the first time in ages. Is genuinely stunned to see the kid smiling under his pressure, wondering if he is looking at a suicidal fool or a genius that only appears once every millennium. This feeling has been missing for way too long. The thrill of a real fight finally has the heart racing as things get serious. The time for hiding behind a fake persona is over. Is about to peel back the layers and see what the rookie is actually made of. Being the 3rd-ranked sword saint comes with a specific kind of reputation. He is as rugged and straightforward as a mountain. The technique does not rely on any complex magic or flashy moves. It is all about raw impact that shatters everything in its path. Every ounce of training was poured into pure physical dominance. He is a specialist who gambles everything on a single overwhelming blow. There is no subtlety in a man who has become strength itself. He is a relentless force that only knows how to move forward. Just as Arrow brought his blade down toward the boy's head, his body locked up as a chilling vision filled his mind. He saw a glimpse of a massive demonic presence looming over the rookie, forcing the sword saint to abort his attack mid-air. Milo keeps a calm smirk while a towering entity made of skulls manifests behind him. This is the internal pressure Arrow felt, a terrifying glimpse of a power that defies human logic. Arrow's ready to end it, but a sudden flashback to his training days throws him off. A demonic face snarling in his vision turns his confidence into dread. He's left paralyzed as he stares into the eyes of a monster. Years ago, training was nothing more than a nightmare of pure exhaustion. The future saint was constantly on the ground, pushed to his absolute breaking point. His mentor looks down with a piercing question. He wants to know what the boy thinks is the ultimate form of self-defense. The old man starts breaking it down. He says it is about training your body and sharpening your techniques until you reach physical perfection. The goal is to reach a level where nobody can even dream of hurting you. That was the boy's only answer to the riddle of strength. But the mentor is not satisfied, calling that just the offensive side of the sword. When asked about the nature of a true shield, the boy is left completely speechless. The old man explains that offense is only one side of the sword. He wants to know about the nature of the shield. But young Arrow is completely lost. His advice is simple. Against an opponent you cannot beat, you should never be the one to strike first. That is the highest form of self-defense. It is a straightforward philosophy for survival. Of course, there are times when you're forced into a fight whether you like it or not. The battle erupts with a thunderous impact that shakes the entire room. A blinding flash of light consumes the stage as their techniques collide with pure force. Our boy is getting frustrated by these weird mind games. His opponent is throwing strikes with zero intent to hit and even changing his trajectory mid-air. The entire crowd is silent as they wait for the next move. In this high-stakes moment, Arrow is about to make a choice that changes everything. The words of his teacher echo in his mind one more time. If the enemy is too strong, you must wait and never initiate the attack. Ever since he was a kid, the war god has been his only teacher. That warrior philosophy is practically engraved into every single cell of his body. Arrow is completely baffled by his own actions. He cannot understand why he instinctively pulled his sword away, instead of landing the blow. The official cuts the match short since time is running out. The playtime is over, and Arrow finally snaps back to reality. Milo just scratches his head and walks away feeling totally bored. He was actually looking forward to a real fight, but this ended up being a massive disappointment. For a split second, a terrifying vision of a demonic entity flashes before his eyes. It was only a moment, but the image was impossible to ignore. He watches the boy leave with a look of pure suspicion. He is left wondering who this kid really is, and what kind of power he is actually hiding. The selection trials begin as the heavy facility doors finally swing open. Rows of fighting platforms fill the venue as the official site for the first exam. The newcomers are shaken by the setup. They realize they are being thrown straight into live combat. Arrow Smith steps forward to lay out the rules. This round is a chaotic battle royal with 10 fighters on every stage. The rules are simple. Candidates have to force a surrender, knock someone out, or just kick them off the stage to stay in the game. Arrow Smith confirms only the top 5 from each arena move on. That is the only way forward. One of the older examiners looks at the young warrior with concern. He thinks these kids might need more training before they get thrown into the fire. The assistant points out that everyone has different ages and backgrounds. He is worried that luck might play too big of a role in the pairings. The assistant thinks this setup might be a bit too harsh for trainees. Arrow just tells him to stop talking nonsense. Arrow makes it clear that these candidates are not little kids anymore. If they cannot get it together and find a way to grow, they will never survive what is coming next. The math is simple. Only half of the candidates are going to make it through this exam. Our boy hears that the weak should just avoid the heavy hitters. The goal is not to win every fight, but to be one of the 5 survivors left on the stage. The assistant realizes this is a test of adaptability. Being able to read the situation and come up with a tactic under pressure is what matters most. This battle royal is a rare chance for everyone to scout the competition. They can see exactly what kind of power their rivals are hiding before the next round. Jasper decides to keep his hands clean and watch the opening chaos from a distance. He is more interested in scouting the competition than joining the first brawl. The first exam officially kicks off with a massive battle royal across the entire arena floor. While everyone else starts swinging, Jasper stays cool and observes the field from the sidelines. The fighting gets nasty immediately as everyone tries to thin the herd. One trainee tries his luck against Jasper's squad, but Silas quickly reminds him that attacking them is a fatal mistake. Silas and the rest of the guard squad form a human wall around their leader. They declare that nobody gets anywhere near Jasper while they are still standing. Jasper gives his enforcers the green light and tells them to keep up the good work. He realizes this chaos is the perfect chance to gather intel on every potential rival. He scans the battlefield for anyone who looks actually dangerous. His gaze eventually locks onto the rookie, who has been on his radar since the selection began. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts and catches Jasper completely off guard. Someone tries to ambush Milo, but the raw battle spirit pouring off the boy is enough to stop anyone in their tracks. Maximilian Evans releases a massive shockwave that sends the nearby candidates flying in every direction. He stands alone in the middle of the carnage and casually asks the referee if it is okay to just take everyone out. From the sidelines, Jasper can barely keep it together as he witnesses the sheer scale of the blonde's power. This is the grandson of the legendary war god, Maximilian Evans. He is already being hailed as the most likely candidate to become the next supreme warrior of their age. The rumors say his skill has already reached the level of a sword saint. Judging by how he just cleared the stage with raw battle spirit alone, those rumors might actually be true. Jasper narrows his eyes and turns his attention to the true dark horse of the exam. All eyes land on Milo Wilson. A pack of trainees surrounds Milo and mocks him for being a slave, declaring that he will be the first one eliminated. Milo does not even flinch as he prepares to show them why that was a fatal mistake. Milo finally stops holding back and activates his dream illusion flow form. He moves through the crowd like a shadow, making everyone else look like they are standing still. The trainees are fuming because they cannot land a single hit on the rookie. Jasper watches from the sidelines, stunned that Milo is effortlessly dodging a coordinated 9-man ambush. Milo looks completely bored by the lack of challenge. He thought this would be good training to get back to his peak, but this brawl is barely a warm-up. He realizes these guys are nowhere near his level. Even if there were 30 of them, they would not be fast enough to even touch his shadow. Sword Saint Arrow Smith is watching the display, and he is completely confused. He has never seen movement like this, even among the elite masters of the Evans family. A wild thought enters the Saint's head as he watches the rookie work. He starts to wonder if Milo's true ceiling is actually higher than his own. He shakes his head and tries to convince himself that he is just overthinking things, but the vibe in the arena tells a completely different story. Aerosmith is already sensing something fishy. He realizes even the high-ranking Maximilian Evans is hiding his true potential. Meanwhile, Jasper is playing the long game. He knows some of these candidates are just here to build factions and scout the competition. His assistant notices the grin on his face and asks why he looks so happy. Arrow just can't wait to break in these cocky brats. A legend might be in the making. Arrow believes someone in this crowd could actually surpass the current war god. It is his job to take these rough recruits and refine them for the front lines. The real training starts now. He stares down the rookies with a terrifying smirk. He is ready to put them through a training hell that will have them begging for mercy. Back at the 100 Martial Arts Hall, the trainees gather in the massive dining hall. Everyone is grabbing a meal after a brutal day of testing. The first hurdle is finally over, but Jasper is not relaxing for even a second. He is already plotting his next power play while the others just focus on their food. Thinking back on the opening test, 3 specific names are burned into his mind. First up is Maximilian Evans, the guy everyone expects to be the next war god. Then you have Milo Wilson, the unexpected dark horse who is currently busy inhaling his lunch. But before Jasper can finish his list, some drama starts up. A loud voice echoes through the hall, calling our boy a slave brat. A mountain of a dude walks up with the nastiest grin possible. He mocks Milo for eating solo and offers to keep him company with a heavy dose of sarcasm. Meet Arthur Sterling. His combat skills are top tier, but his attitude and mouth are a disaster. Arthur decides to play the nice guy and offer some unsolicited advice. Listen up, Milo Wilson. I'm only telling you this once for your own good. The friendly act is over as he delivers a blunt ultimatum. You need to quit the selection trials immediately. Our boy is not even slightly intimidated by the sudden confrontation. I have no idea what you're yapping about. The conversation turns into a lecture about how Milo is ruining the prestige of the hall. You're single-handedly disrupting the order of this entire place. A view of the elite facility highlights the massive gap between the nobles and everyone else. In this world, family and bloodlines are everything. The gatekeeping continues as he rants about how dirty blood should never mix with the elite. He is worried that fools will start questioning the truth if a slave actually succeeds. A final threat comes with total contempt. Are we clear on that, you slave brat? Milo keeps eating, completely ignoring the lecture. He mentions that he does not understand a word of the noble rant and realizes they will never get along. Arthur cannot handle being ignored. He brags about his family standing right behind the Evans house, warning that Milo's confidence will not last. Our boy has zero interest in bloodline talk. He tells Arthur to get lost because his face is making the food hard to stomach. The insult hits home. Arthur snaps, threatening to turn the rookie into his personal punching bag right then and there. He brings his fist down with enough force to shatter the table and send the meal flying. The air gets heavy as both men prepare for a real fight. A calm voice suddenly cuts through the tension to stop the brawl before it starts. Jasper Blackwood makes his entrance with a reminder about the facility rules. He points out that private duels are strictly forbidden in this building. Jasper steps in with a proposal suggesting they settle their beef with an official mock duel instead of trashing the canteen. He even offers to personally oversee the match to keep things professional. Elsewhere, the group relocates to the massive training hall where the real showdown begins. This is exactly what Jasper was hoping for, a perfect chance to scout their true potential from the front row. The power ceiling here is terrifying, with rank scaling from high-class swordsmen all the way up to the legendary 10 Sword Saints. His plan is to recruit the cream of the crop into his own private faction. But these elites are a handful. Arthur is a prideful mess and Maximilian is a total lone wolf who won't join anyone. Jasper watches from the sidelines, ready to judge if the rookie is actually a top-tier asset or just another disappointment. If he shows real potential, Jasper is already planning to use the kid's family as leverage to force him into his private faction. But if he turns out to be a threat that won't submit, Jasper is prepared to eliminate him before he becomes a real nuisance. Arthur breaks the silence by asking Milo if he even realizes how bad he just messed up. Milo just stares back, looking totally unfazed by the threat. The noble snaps, promising to show the rookie a literal hell after sending plenty of other elites to the hospital before. He activates a high-level skill called Christmas Dust, filling the air with glowing particles that track every vibration in the area. Within a 5-meter radius, Arthur claims he can read Milo like an open book. To him, the fight is already over before it even started. Jasper breaks down the mechanic of the ability. This Christmas Dust creates a high-level sensory field that tracks every single vibration in the area. Even a pro like Jasper is breaking a sweat watching this. He knows how lethal this technique is and wonders how the rookie is going to survive. Arthur waits in the center of his glowing trap, looking way too smug. He tells our boy to come at him anytime, calling him a total weakling. Milo finally decides to close the gap. The sudden shift in energy catches the noble completely off guard. Just like that, he vanishes. Arthur is left staring at empty air as Milo reappears right behind him before he can even blink. A massive hit sends the noble straight to the floor. Milo lands a strike so fast it moves way beyond anything Arthur can track. Milo looks down with ice in his eyes. He tells him that reading the future is useless if his body is too slow to actually do anything about it. Arthur is face down on the tiles, out for the count. Milo just stares at the mess he made, asking if the guy even heard him. The reality of the situation finally hits Jasper, leaving him stuttering in the background. Jasper has reached his breaking point. Sweat pours down his face as he screams at the top of his lungs that this cannot be happening. Starting off with a fresh chapter, we get a flashback revealing that Jasper Blackwood was a pretty miserable kid. To see where it all went wrong, we gotta go back 5 generations to the head of the Blackwood family. This dude was a force of nature, taking second place in the War God trials and becoming a high-ranking elder. But he had a major chip on his shoulder because his bloodline could never produce a true war god. He eventually gave up on his dream and retired, walking away into the shadows as an old man. Everything changed one day when a mysterious warrior on a pilgrimage decided to stop by the Blackwood mansion. He treated the house's best fighters like toddlers swinging sticks, showing off power that was just built different. The patriarch grins like a maniac after finally finding what he has been looking for. Rain pours down over the estate while he plans his next move. Inside the mansion, his daughter is just looking after her sleeping kid in peace. The silence is broken when the door creaks open and her father barges into the room. He tells her she is coming with him right now and will not take no for an answer. This dude is pulling rank as the head of the house to force her into compliance. With a twisted look in his eyes, he drops the news. He tells her that tonight, she is going to bear the child of a war god. He drags her down the hall, fully committed to an obsession that has lasted a lifetime. Since he could not reach the top himself, he is dumping all that pressure onto the next generation. It is hard to say if he even has a shred of sanity left at this point. To make a demand like that of a woman who already has her own family is pure madness. That moment changed everything for the Blackwood family. They officially institutionalized the hunt for powerful bloodlines, turning their whole lineage into a factory for elite warriors. Flashback to Jasper's childhood. His sister was forced into the family dark tradition, sent off to become a concubine for an old Evans elder. The heartbreak was real, as they shared a final goodbye. Back then, young Jasper sat alone in silence. He had to find a way to break this cycle of tragedy, once and for all. The goal was clear. He needed power that matched the Evans elite. If he ever wanted to rewrite the rules, he had to climb to the very peak. He pushed himself to the limit, grinding through blood and sweat. He did not care about being called a coward as long as he kept moving forward. Every drop of sweat was for one goal: conquering the 100 Martial Arts Hall. This was the fire that kept Jasper fighting through the shadows. Back in the present, the arena was dead silent after the clash. Arthur was left face down while our boy stood there like it was just another Tuesday. Jasper just stood there with his jaw on the floor. His brain was probably short-circuiting trying to process the speed he just witnessed. Milo literally vanished into thin air, reappearing behind Arthur to end the fight before anyone could even blink. Jasper was left in a state of pure shock, unable to comprehend how that kind of speed was even physically possible. In that moment, Jasper knew he had found his ticket to the top, deciding that Milo was the only person worth betting his entire life on. Looking at the boy standing there so casually, Jasper didn't see a trainee. He saw an absolute king. Milo just stared back with a blank expression, asking Jasper what he thought he was doing. Jasper dropped into a deep bow right then and there, practically pleading to be accepted as one of Milo's followers. Being a strategist at heart, Jasper realized that complete submission to this monster was the smartest move he could ever make. Back at the dorms, Arthur slams his fist down in a total meltdown. Damn it. He was seething, unable to process getting clapped in front of the whole facility. That trash Milo making a fool of me like this. Things got even worse when his lackey brought him some fresh gossip about Jasper switching sides. Lord Arthur, word on the street is Jasper has officially joined Milo's camp. Hearing that Jasper was basically begging to be a subordinate made his blood boil even hotter. So that is how it is. They are really teaming up against me. He fully snaps, kicking the furniture as he decides the whole fight was a massive setup. Those bastards definitely rigged the match. In his head, there was zero chance a high-tier noble could get one tapped fairly. Getting knocked out without landing a single hit is impossible. He descends into full delusion, convinced they either poisoned his lunch or hacked the arena itself. They must have drugged my food or messed with the stage. It is the only way he won. One look at his bloodshot eye and you knew he was seething. This dude is not taking the L lightly. Back in the dorms, he gathered his lackeys for a reality check. He demanded they remind him which noble house he belongs to. Arms thrown out wide, he basked in his own self-importance. He asked the crowd who he was supposed to be. The minions did not miss a beat, shouting that he belonged to the legendary Sterling lineage. They were really glazing him now. More voices joined the chorus, hyping him up as the man who would become the strongest war god. Hearing exactly what he wanted, Arthur threw his head back and laughed while his group cheered. His ego was finally restored. The vibe shifted as his face twisted into a demonic grin. He swore that Milo Wilson would pay for the humiliation, and he meant it. The scene shifts to the 100 Martial Arts Hall, where the instructors are holding a high-level meeting. Smith sits at the head of the table, ready to lay out the next phase. One official is losing his mind over the proposal, but the Sword Saint is dead serious. The next phase of the trial is set to drop in just 2 days. Smith leans forward with an intense glare. He announces the start of the 5 Elements Holy Training. This is not a drill. We are talking about 3 months of survival on the Holy Mountain of Dragons just to level up. The instructors argue that 80% of the kids will drop out immediately. Arrow just thinks a little bit of chaos is necessary for growth. He is looking for something bigger than just a few graduates. The goal is to forge the strongest war god in history. A confident smirk crosses his face as he defends his decision. He is betting it all on this batch being built differently. Smith is done playing nice. He tells the room that anyone not up to par will be personally broken down and rebuilt by him over the next month. The schedule is locked in. The top-tier students are heading for the mountains, while the stragglers get stuck with the Sword Saint for some extra credit pain. With the plan finalized, the meeting is officially adjourned. Next morning, the sun rises over the facility as the big day finally arrives. Back at the arena, the energy is through the roof. Smith is absolutely hyped to see what these rookies can do. This is the legendary Holy Battle Spirit in action. It is the secret art humans cooked up long ago to survive against the world's nastiest monsters. Close up on a clenched fist says it all. This isn't just a skill, it is the peak of martial arts and the ultimate proof of strength. A clenched fist represents the peak of martial arts. It is no exaggeration to call this the ultimate technique. The announcer calls for the next fighter. Maximilian Evans steps up to the arena floor. The crowd goes wild as a massive aura erupts from the arena. Everyone is stunned by the raw power on display. A giant beast spirit looms over him like a tiger ready to feast on a dragon. He is basically walking pressure. One of the observers watches with a smirk. He can tell this kid is holding back most of his real strength. Time to check the other rookie. Smith is shocked to hear that Milo cannot even use Holy Battle Spirit. Our boy Milo just shrugs it off. He confirms he cannot use it and says the thought never even crossed his mind. Milo plays it cool and claims he is a former demon. The examiner cannot tell if he is joking, but that smug grin says it all. The guy is still desperate for a real explanation. Milo realizes that explaining his actual power would be a drag, so he starts cooking up a lie. He throws a lazy punch and calls it basic martial arts. The examiner looks like his brain just shut down because there is no way it is that simple. The crowd of trainees erupts in laughter and starts calling him a fraud. They are convinced he is just some lucky commoner with zero talent. While the losers are busy talking trash, the high-level fighters stay quiet. They know better than to trust appearances when the vibes are this heavy. Smith is having a crisis in the background. He has never seen anyone move like that without using buffs and wonders what kind of monster he is dealing with. The examiner tries to break the bad news about the disqualification. Milo does not care and just tells the guy to send him to the next stage. Smith drops the bombshell with a casual smile. Milo just got slapped with a full month of remedial training. Our boy is having a complete meltdown. A demon king stuck in detention is a massive hit to his pride. They arrive at the training hall. This is the place where rookies who cannot handle their spirit properly get whipped into shape. The lesson kicks off with the fundamentals of ki flow. Mastering this is the only way to reach the state of a clear mind and awaken the sixth sense. It is all about total sensory awareness. When your senses peak, even the rustle of clothes or a shift in muscle tension becomes a dead giveaway. The skill evolves until you can read the atmosphere itself. Every faint ripple in the air tells you exactly where the threat is coming from. Reaching the absolute peak changes the game. With precision that high, predicting an opponent becomes literal future sight. The curriculum starts with the absolute basics. For the next month, everyone is stuck learning how to dodge flying rocks and wooden blades. The difficulty eventually spikes to the extreme. The final goal is to survive a full barrage of arrows while completely blindfolded. While the rest of the group is processing the danger, Milo is already bored with the slow pace. He steps forward with a request that catches the instructor off guard. He does not have time for a month-long prep course. He looks the instructor dead in the eye and asks if he can just take the arrow test right now. The peanut gallery is having a field day with this. They are convinced he is just a dead man walking who is begging for an early execution. Arrow Smith is the only one who is not laughing. He senses the confidence radiating off our boy and tells him to go ahead and prove it. Milo gets right to it and ties the blindfold tight. Archers line up on the balcony and lock their crossbows onto him, ready to turn him into a target. The archers lock their sights on Milo as the instructor gives the order to fire. It is time to see if his confidence is backed by actual skill. Arrow Smith watches closely, wondering how the kid plans to survive this. Dozens of arrows whistle through the air at once, closing in from every direction. Our MC stands centered and calm while death rains down from every angle. He does not even flinch as the projectiles enter his personal space. His hands suddenly move like a blur, snatching the projectiles right out of midair. The speed of his reaction defies everything the onlookers know about human limits. The instructor is losing his mind. Milo did not just dodge the barrage, he caught every single arrow and is holding them like a bundle of firewood. Dropping the arrows, Milo pulls off the blindfold with zero emotion. He tells the room he does not have a single second to waste in a place like this. A lone trainee is struggling for air as he sprints through a graveyard of jagged rocks. He is absolutely certain that humans have zero business fighting the monsters in this wasteland. The chase hits a dead end as a colossal predator looms over him with a single freezing eye. This is the basilisk, a nightmare creature that turns its prey into stone with just one glance. In a terrifying blur, the petrification spreads through his arm like wildfire. 1 second of eye contact was all it took for the transformation to begin. This region is a literal death trap known as the basilisk's nest, where the rules of survival are simple. Look and die. It is a legendary habitat for beasts that wield the power of the demon eye. Life on the Holy Mountain is a relentless survival game where everyone is forced to fend for themselves. Most candidates end up breaking under the pressure and dropping out before they even see a real fight. The dynamic shifts when an elite masked warrior joins the hunt without breaking a sweat. He faces down the petrifying beast with the kind of calm you only see in true masters. With a single explosive slash, he dismantles the monster before it can even blink. Fighting in a state where one look equals death is the ultimate way to force your battle spirit to awaken. He locks onto his target with a cold gaze. You aren't getting away. Elsewhere on the mountain, a heavy predator gets turned into a snack in record time. He decides this should be plenty for today's meal. While the average trainees struggle, the elite are evolving at a rapid pace. They are using this wasteland to unlock their potential. This hunter scoffs at the instructors for doubting Milo. He wonders what his lord is up to while he finishes butchering the wildlife. A forest of skewered monsters proves who the real apex predator is. The mountain's worst nightmares are now just lunch. Milo hauls a heavy slab of meat back to his secluded log cabin. He has everything he needs to survive the next 3 months. He steps into a hidden room filled with ancient scrolls and knowledge. Time to get to work. Our boy is holed up in his cabin, surrounded by stacks of ancient lore. He realizes that basic holy battle spirit is just like the energy he already knows, meaning his body won't reject it. The facility gives candidates access to everything from beginner basics to high-level combat theory. It is a goldmine for leveling up fast. He even scored some secret manuals from the Evans family. These books contain high-tier techniques that are usually kept under lock and key. It is pretty ironic that he is the one learning these holy arts now. He watches the night girl walk away while the scales of fate start tipping. Thinking back to the night girl, her energy was something else. It was strong and looked beautiful. Switching focus to the real threat. Survival in this era means being ready for those cosmic invaders called outsiders. To stand a chance against those monsters, he has to push his limits. The grind never stops when the world is at stake. Milo is dead serious about his next move. He knows that to survive the coming threats, he has to take his own strength to a whole new level. He starts a brutal training regime that involves studying ancient scrolls and mastering complex energy control. Consuming monster meat is the only way to fuel this level of growth. By injecting the holy energy of a basilisk directly into his exhausted circuits, he is performing a risky overclock on his own system. This is a high-stakes shortcut to gain power as fast as possible. Standing in his cabin, Milo finally feels the rush of his power returning. That sharp grin shows he is genuinely enjoying the feeling of becoming a monster himself. We jump forward 1 month to the rugged mountain peaks of the training grounds. Arrow Smith makes his way to the secluded log cabin to see if his student is still breathing. Arrow picks his ear and calls out for Milo with a casual attitude. He figures the kid is too tough to die, but the silence from the shack is starting to feel weird. He steps inside to find our MC passed out on the floor. Instead of a training montage, Milo has spent his month buried under a pile of library books with one resting right on his face. Arrow walked in ready to roast his lazy student, only to find Milo standing in an absolute ocean of finished books. When our boy casually claimed he already read every single volume, the instructor could only stare in total disbelief. Arrow went full tilt, calling cap on the whole situation, since these high-tier techniques usually take at least a decade to master. While his teacher was having a literal meltdown, Milo just stood there calmly sipping his drink like it was a Tuesday. He explained that the basic principles were actually pretty familiar to him already. With a sharp look in his eyes, he realized he didn't need a manual when he already had the perfect reference stored in his own memories. The room started to shake as Milo began to unleash his power, leaving the veteran swordsman wondering if he was looking at a human or a straight-up monster. The aura was so pure and beautiful that it left the veteran instructor completely speechless. After flexing his strength, Milo turned back to the secret manual with a serious expression. He casually mentioned that there was actually a major problem with the introduction, leaving his teacher totally confused. Milo holds up the manual, claiming the power system inside is a waste of effort. Arrow can only stare in silence, wondering if the kid lost his mind. He asks what kind of problem could exist in the Sacred Martial Arts Guide. He explains that the founder of the War Gods wrote this manual as the peak of human capability. It is a legendary document that fighters everywhere dream of mastering. Milo keeps browsing while his teacher insists the founder never made mistakes. Legends say the founder could split an enemy from 50 meters away with a single wave of energy. Arrow admits that even the elite of the Evans family cannot pull off a feat like that anymore. His own limit is just a few meters, making those stories feel like myths. Our boy decides that actions speak louder than words. He channels his power, surrounding himself in a hurricane of white energy that leaves his teacher speechless. Watching it again, Arrow was just stunned. He really could not believe this was the same guy who could not even use a basic spirit aura until recently. As the energy swirled around Milo, the veteran swordsman started questioning everything. He wondered if the founder hid the true methods on purpose, or if the world just forgot how to really fight. The truth was a mystery, but the manual was clearly missing the most important part. Milo tightened his grip on his wooden sword, about to demonstrate the real deal. Our boy told him he was going to show him what lies beyond. Arrow watched closely, thinking it looked like the same energy as before, until he noticed the vibe shift. It was not just standard spirit power anymore. It was something much more refined. Milo launched a strike that cut through the space between them in an instant. A massive shockwave tore across the training ground. Arrow looked on in horror as the air itself seemed to split, heading straight for the forest. The massive tree trunk just slid apart, sliced perfectly by a wooden stick from 50 meters away. Milo casually noted that his strike reached exactly 50 meters, matching the ancient legends perfectly. Arrow Smith was left stuttering in the background, unable to process what he just saw. Looking at the path of destruction, it was clear that this was not just a myth anymore. Milo had turned a legendary story into reality right in front of his teacher's eyes. Arrow Smith could not wrap his head around it and demanded to know how any of this was possible. Our boy just smirked, telling him the secret was actually pretty simple while energy started swirling around his hand. It looked like pure wind magic was being channeled directly into the wooden blade. Arrow Smith watched with wide eyes, finally realizing exactly how the trick was done. Arrow finally called it out, realizing that Milo had just pulled off some high-level wind magic. He stood there frozen, finally understanding the source of that power. This was the concept of the magic sword, a technique that used the 5 basic elements along with light and darkness. By infusing these properties into a blade, a warrior could transcend human limits. The trick was to use a standard spirit aura as a foundation and then layer a magic attribute on top of it. This fusion of energy was the key to his overwhelming power. Our boy demonstrates how even a simple wooden sword can become a versatile magic blade with the right application. Milo reveals that this is the original application of the holy battle spirit used by the first war god. Arrow stands there frozen, wondering who this kid actually is and how he knows such high-level secrets. Arrow remembers a rumor about a famous magic user in the Habsburg family from many generations back. He tries to connect the dots, thinking this might be where the hidden talent comes from. Arrow advises Milo to keep this specific power under wraps during the selection exams. Milo looks back, asking him exactly why he needs to hide it. If word gets out, every important official and martial arts researcher in the land will be dragging him in for questioning. It would turn his life into a constant series of interrogations by greedy experts. At that point, finishing the selection trials would be the last thing on anyone's mind. Milo agrees, realizing that level of attention would be a major pain. Even if it meant gaining fame and wealth, Milo makes it clear that he has no interest in those things. Arrow just chuckles, knowing he should have expected that answer. Milo tells young Arrow to take this secret technique and spread it across the entire world. Arrow starts bugging out, asking if it is really okay to give away a discovery he found himself. Milo does not care one bit, telling the future legend that a fighter of his level should be able to grasp the logic behind it easily. Arrow can barely believe what he is hearing as Milo explains that Master Valentina was the one who first discovered this power. If this knowledge ever went public, the development of Holy Battle Spirit would jump 20 years into the future. It would be a power-up for all of humanity, giving them the strength they need to fight back against the outsiders. Arrow admits it is getting hard to tell who is actually the teacher here with Milo dropping knowledge like this. 2 months fly by in an instant, bringing everyone to the final day of the brutal training camp. The survivors gather in the arena, ready for the results. Only 70 people manage to survive the cut, meaning 30% of the recruits are already history. Milo stands tall among the exhausted crowd while Olivia breathes a sigh of relief. He just shrugs it off like it was a walk in the park. From the shadows, bitter eyes watch Milo with a mix of hatred and respect. They knew the commoner wouldn't go down that easily, but seeing him standing there still hits different. Arthur Sterling is still fuming on the sidelines, replaying his previous defeat over and over in his head. He tells his lackeys to forget the small talk because he is about to show everyone something much more interesting. The grudge is deep and the vibes are getting dark. He flashes a twisted grin that promises nothing but chaos. It is time for him to reveal his true colors and settle the score once and for all. The arena fell into a stunned silence as the pressure from Milo's display finally settled. Speechless, the trainees could barely process the scale of the power they just witnessed. Whispers started rippling through the ranks of the elite candidates. This definitely wasn't the weak commoner they were promised, and they realized they had just made a big mistake. Milo stood in the center of his own wind vortex, looking unfazed. While everyone else struggled to stay on their feet, he remained the calm center of the storm. The examiner stepped forward with a shaking voice to call an end to the display. He quickly signaled for the next candidate to try and move the focus away from the monster before him. The arrogant nobles who had been mocking him were now sweating bullets. Jasper watched from the sidelines with a cold smirk, knowing the camp hierarchy had just been flipped. Jasper kept his cool, admitting that his original analysis of the boy was a bit too soft. He realized Milo was a wildcard whose growth was starting to make his plans look a bit shaky. Aerosmith couldn't believe his eyes, noting that Milo's energy flow was sharper than it was just 2 months ago. The arena fell into an uneasy silence as a new powerhouse truly settled in. A montage of the heavy hitters who survived the first slaughter flashed on screen. Aerosmith leaned in with a wild look in his eyes, realizing these kids were finally ready for the real deal. Standing in the center of the arena, he announced that the spirit check was officially done but warned that no one was safe yet. He yelled at the crowd to stop relaxing since surviving the first round was basically just the tutorial. Being a war god is about more than just fighting. It requires becoming a leader who the whole world respects. The connections made within this huge academy would become their ultimate power, because networking is a survival skill here. His next instruction was simple but brutal. Form a squad of at least 5 people or get kicked out of the trial. The examiner drops the ultimatum. They can either step up as leaders or find a faction to join, but how they hit that 5-person quota is completely on them. The clock is ticking with a hard deadline set for tomorrow morning. Most candidates are instantly stressing out, but Jasper remains unfazed. Recruiting a tiny squad is nothing for a man who used to command tens of thousands. His strategy is simple: rule with fear and force the weak into submission. The other trainees can already feel the threat and decide to steer clear. Then, a voice calls out to our boy with a shocking amount of respect. Jasper approaches with a smug congratulations for passing the hidden trial. He admits he is technically on Milo's side now, even if he still acts like he is the one in charge. He tells Milo not to worry about the numbers. If he wants a squad, Jasper can mobilize his entire faction and have 30 people ready in seconds. Jasper points out the massive crowd, flexing that he can mobilize 30 followers in an instant. He is basically offering to do all the heavy lifting for the squad building process. Our boy isn't exactly jumping for joy, but he admits that manually searching for teammates would be a total drag. It is much easier to just let the noble handle the recruitment for now. Jasper just brushes it off with a laugh, telling Milo to do whatever he wants since the deal is already set. The noble keeps the energy high, officially declaring himself Milo's newest subordinate with a sarcastic bow. Our MC just looks disgusted and wants this guy out of his personal space immediately. This dude Arthur is watching the whole thing from the sidelines with a grin that screams trouble. He is clearly planning to turn this little victory into a nightmare the second he gets a chance. Peace and quiet finally hits the academy as the sun goes down. Milo is out cold and snoring, completely unaware that his easy night is about to get interrupted. The vibe shifts instantly as a masked intruder breaks into the room and looms over the bed. He draws his blade with a cold look, calling the boy a fool for leaving himself so wide open. The intruder goes for the kill, plunging his blade straight into the bedding with a cold look in his eyes. He is aiming right for the heart, but the impact feels completely off. He is left staring in shock as our boy appears right behind him like a ghost. Milo looks down at the failed hitman, telling him he chose the wrong target for his little nighttime operation. In a total reverse, the MC has a blade pressed against the assassin's neck. He warns the dude to stay quiet unless he wants his throat slit, making it clear he already knows exactly who is behind this and demanding to be taken to Arthur. Cut to a different part of the forest where the sound of heavy wooden mugs clinking together echoes through the trees. Arthur is living his best life, laughing as he imagines the absolute bloodbath waiting for Milo back at the room. He is convinced his plan went off without a single hitch. This dude really thinks he is a mastermind, bragging about how no one would ever suspect his noble family is secretly in the assassination business. He looks down at his captive audience, mockingly asking the tied-up prisoner if they agree. Arthur is way too comfortable, completely oblivious to the fact that his hitman is currently being interrogated. Jasper is lashed to a thick tree trunk, his head hanging low as the silence of the forest settles over him. Elsewhere, the dark silhouette of the academy building stands tall against the night sky. One of Arthur's goons starts getting cold feet, whispering that pulling off a murder inside the training grounds is way too risky. This dude Arthur just cracks a sadistic grin, unfazed by the threat of getting caught. To him, noble factions wiping each other out over power is just a natural part of the game. He starts breaking down his plan to frame the whole thing as a mutual kill between Jasper and our MC. Arthur is feeling himself, calling them all fools while he prepares to cover his tracks. Jasper finally looks up, blood trickling down his face as he spits out his defiance. He tells Arthur that he is dead wrong for underestimating Milo, convinced the boy is far above their level. Arthur just laughs it off, mocking Jasper for suddenly finding his heart and trusting a stranger. He turns to his lackey McLean and starts detailing the dark reasons why Jasper became so obsessed with winning. The mood turns grim as the truth about Jasper's family comes out, revealing his sister was traded away like a political pawn. He only joined this hellish training to gain enough power to tear down the very system that ruined his life. Arthur isn't holding back, grabbing Jasper by the hair before landing a brutal punch. He mocks the guy, telling him he is just too soft for this world. Standing over his bound rival, Arthur laughs at the cold reality of noble life. In his eyes, a family's only job is to get stronger, no matter how many people they have to step on. His face twists into something truly demonic as he reveals just how far he'd go. He brags that he would gladly trade away his own wife or daughter if it meant a step up in the world. Suddenly, the sound of a body hitting the dirt cuts his monologue short. Arthur spins around, his smug grin vanishing as Milo steps into the clearing. Our boy doesn't waste any words. Looking Arthur dead in the eye, he tells it like it is, calling this noble nothing more than a piece of human garbage. The shock doesn't last long, and Arthur's predatory smirk returns. He looks at Milo like he has finally found the main course he's been waiting for. Arthur decides to keep the psychological torture going, bringing up Jasper's tragic past. He mocks the dude's sister being sold off like a pawn, laughing at the idea of Jasper actually trying to change the system. Jasper hangs his head in defeat, finally seeing what real conviction looks like. He thought everyone was just out for themselves, but his rival proved him dead wrong. Milo looks over at the tied-up captive and tells him to just relax. Everything is under control now. A sharp crack echoes through the woods as he clenches his fist. There is zero mercy for anyone who dares to target his people. The clearing goes dead silent as the two sides face off. Milo stares them down, ordering the noble trash not to move a single muscle. This dude Arthur is a coward, dragging a knife across Jasper's neck to keep the rescue at bay. He laughs, threatening to turn the clearing red if anyone takes another step. Even a snake like Arthur has to admit the power in front of him is on another level. He senses the gap in their strength, but that greasy smirk isn't going anywhere. Fighting fair was never the plan for this villain. Arthur flicks a mysterious glass vial into the air, and Milo snatches it out of the sky before it even hits the ground. Arthur tosses a mysterious vial into the air, and our boy catches it with zero effort. Turns out it is a key circuit blocker, a nasty drug designed to shut down a warrior's battle spirit for good. The villainous noble mocks him from the sidelines while keeping a blade pressed against Jasper's throat. The trade is simple. Throw away your future as a martial artist, or watch your only friend get sent to the lobby permanently. Milo does not even blink as he pops the cork and chugs the entire bottle. He is choosing loyalty over power, and the look in his eyes says he is finished playing games. He shows off the empty glass and asks if the trash is finally satisfied with his sacrifice. Arthur cannot hide his twisted joy now that he thinks the biggest threat to his plan is neutralized. The coward bursts into a fit of laughter before kicking a helpless Jasper into the dirt. Since Milo is supposedly powerless now, the villain sees zero reason to keep his word or his hostage. He looms over the pair, gloating about how our MC is now nothing more than a powerless puppet in his little game. Jasper is busy apologizing for being a failure, but Milo is not interested in the excuses. Our boy turns his attention to the noble trash and points out that a real warrior would never be this sloppy. Looking him dead in the eye, it is clear he is just a bottom-tier threat at best. Arthur just laughs and cracks his knuckles. He thinks Milo is a joke because he cannot use reinforcement magic. The villain winds up and slams a heavy blow right into his face. He is already celebrating a win that he has not earned yet. The celebration ends fast. His hand is mangled and broken, leaving him in a state of shock. Arthur clutches his ruined fist and screams in agony while his lackeys freak out. Our MC just stands there like it was nothing. Our boy activates diamond protection, layering a crystalline defense over his skin that is hard as actual jewels. Arthur stumbles over his words, unable to comprehend how a commoner is using such high-tier magic. A sharp smirk appears as Milo casually reveals that his side job is actually being a mage. Arthur's brain officially breaks as he tries to process the revelation. The speed gap becomes disrespectful as he starts handing out individual beatdowns to the entire squad. One lackey gets folded instantly while the others can only watch in terror. He weaves through their sloppy attacks like it is nothing. This dude explains that anyone who thinks battle spirit is the only way to buff stats is dead wrong. It is a total wipeout as Milo creates a whirlwind of strikes that sends bodies flying in every direction. Arthur can only watch in horror while trying to process how his guaranteed win turned into a nightmare. Arthur is officially losing his mind. He cannot comprehend how a commoner is moving faster than his brain can even process. The panic starts to set in. He is having a full-blown meltdown because losing to a part-time mage was never part of his plan. Milo is the definition of chill. He casually reminds the bully that they still have all night to finish their little session. The pressure is becoming unbearable. He is desperately trying to find the right words to stop the upcoming beatdown. He finally throws in the towel. The realization that he is completely outclassed forces him to admit that he has no chance of winning. The noble ego has officially left the building. He is begging for mercy and even offering to apologize for his behavior just to make the nightmare stop. This pathetic display actually works. Since the bully is finally being honest about his skills, Milo decides to show him some mercy. Milo stands with his arms crossed, watching the sloppy aftermath of the fight. He mocks the weak effort and laughs at the idea of someone trying to play the hero. The man swings for a strike, but our boy catches his arm without breaking a sweat. A pained cry escapes the attacker's lips as he realizes he is stuck in a vice grip. Milo accepts the apology with a devious grin while putting his strength into the hold. The sound of crushing bone fills the air, leaving the man stammering and begging for a way out. The forest is filled with Arthur's agonizing screams as his crushed arm is reduced to a mangled mess. Milo doesn't even bother looking back as he tells Jasper it is time for them to head out. Arthur is fuming and calling them absolute fools for leaving him alive. He thinks he can just use some healing magic to patch himself up and get back in the game. He turns to his subordinate, McLean, and tells him that their real work starts tomorrow. The noble is already plotting his next move before the blood even dries. Arthur is mentally cycling through every possible way to kill our boy, from poison and snipers to explosions and falls. He's convinced that he has plenty of options to finish the job. A twisted grin spreads across Arthur's face as he makes a silent vow. He is going to make sure Milo never has another peaceful night for as long as he lives. As they make their way through the forest, Jasper is still on edge. He knows Arthur is the type of person who will never let a humiliation like this slide. Milo explains that half-hearted pain doesn't mean anything to people like that. He would have ended him permanently, but he didn't want to get himself disqualified from the trials for a piece of trash. Arthur Sterling sports a confident smirk while thinking about his next move. In his mind, everything is still perfectly under control. Cut to the next day at the dining hall as the lunch rush begins. The vibe shifts when Silas reports that McLean has gone missing. This is a problem because Arthur had a list of tasks ready for him. Silas adds that McLean officially quit the selection trials and cleared out of the facility earlier that morning. Arthur is stunned by the sudden news and realizes Mikhail is missing from his usual lunch spot too. Apparently, Mikhail was looking like a ghost this morning and decided to stay in his room for the day. Arthur finally snaps. His squad is falling apart right when he needs them most, and he is not handling the lack of respect well. Flashback to the previous night where Arthur was still riding high and barking orders at his squad to prep for a coordinated strike. His men shouted their loyalty, promising to follow his plan to the letter the following morning. Fast forward to the dining hall the next morning at 7:45. Arthur scans the vacant tables with a growing sense of dread. He can't believe he's the only one who showed up for the meeting. He stands alone in the massive vacant hall, scanning every corner for even a single subordinate. The silence is deafening until a sudden noise at the door makes him jump. Aerosmith wanders in to kill the tension. Arthur looks up, clearly not in the mood for a random check-in from the instructor. Arrow doesn't sugarcoat the situation and drops the hammer. All 14 of Arthur's followers have officially withdrawn from the selection trials. Arthur's brain completely short-circuits as the news hits. He's left standing there in shock, realizing he's lost his entire power base in a single night. Arrow keeps it simple, reminding our noble boy that the next trial requires a team of 5. Arthur stands there sweating, realizing he is officially out of allies. 5 days to find a new squad. Arrow waves a casual goodbye as the doors slam shut, leaving the hall as empty as Arthur's prospects. Fast forward to a stormy night. Arthur is a wreck, hiding under his blanket and gritting his teeth because he knows this is all Milo's doing. He just can't figure out how one kid made 14 people quit in 48 hours. Meanwhile, a familiar silhouette is watching from the darkness. Those glowing eyes appear right in the room, making Arthur jump out of his skin. He doesn't wait around for an explanation and immediately sprints into the hallway. The paranoia is hitting critical levels. He knows he locked the door, but Milo's cold, unblinking stare is still right there. He is scrambling for his life. He trips and falls, screaming that the kid was just standing right behind him, before diving into the washroom to hide. Arthur is losing it in the bathroom, clutching his head and trying to convince himself to breathe. Every little creak and footstep outside is sounding like a death sentence. Our noble boy tries to act tough, clenching his fist and promising to end this. He kicks the door open with everything he has, but the hallway is dead silent. Spoke too soon. Milo is standing right behind him like a dark nightmare, his eyes void of any humanity. The scream that leaves Arthur's mouth is enough to wake the dead. He is broken. Milo just stares him down like he's watching a bug under a microscope. Arthur's brain is short-circuiting as he tries to figure out what kind of monster he's dealing with. It doesn't matter how many locks he turns or how fast he runs. Milo is always lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to reappear. Arthur is pathetic on the floor, begging to know how a commoner can outclass an elite assassin. Milo looks down with a cold stare and offers to let him in on the secret. Milo stands over a trembling Arthur, listing the high-level magic he used to turn the room into a personal haunting ground. From optical camouflage to presence erasing, he has broken every rule of logic to make this noble suffer. Milo explains that he stacked over 10 different invisibility spells just to mimic a legendary technique. Looking into those cold eyes, Arthur realizes he was never fighting a student but a monster in human skin. He was recreating the mist hidden art, a perfect assassination technique that fewer than 10 people in the world can actually pull off. It is the peak of stealth, turning a warrior into a ghost. Arthur can barely process that someone would use high-tier magic just to play mind games. Milo makes it clear that there are no more excuses since Arthur was the one who decided to target his friends with cowardly methods. Standing over the broken noble, Milo delivers a cold final order. He tells the guy he is an eyesore and needs to get out of the academy immediately. Arthur looks up in pure terror, realizing that fleeing won't save him. Those predatory eyes tell the whole story, promising that no matter where he hides, death is always one step behind. A massive clawed shadow looms over Arthur as the pressure becomes physical. Milo makes it crystal clear that he can end the noble's life at any moment he chooses. Arrow Smith settles back into his office chair to go over the final reports from the training camp. He leans forward with a serious look and notes that the team-building phase is officially over, meaning the next trial starts today. Checking the records, he sees that Arthur Sterling has already packed his bags and left for good. Since that dead weight is out of the way, the race for the War God title is down to just 2 real contenders. Arrow places the files for Maximilian Evans and our boy Milo side by side on his desk. He is genuinely curious to see which of these two will come out on top when the dust settles. The scene shifts away from the academy to the grand and luxurious Wilson family estate. Olivia stands alone in her room, staring out at the horizon with a worried expression. She cannot help but wonder how Milo is holding up in the middle of all the chaos at the facility. Back at the facility, one of the senior officials watches from the shadows with a grin. He calls our MC a top-tier joker, realizing Milo is a dangerous wildcard that no one saw coming. A frantic knock interrupts the quiet of the Wilson estate. Her butler bursts in looking like he just saw a ghost, shouting that there is big news regarding the boy they sent to the trials. Olivia freezes as the messenger drops a bomb. Our boy did not just survive, he is officially ranked as a top-tier candidate for the War God title. As if that news was not enough, an invitation to an elite tea party from the main Evans house just landed on her desk. Olivia stares at the letter, trying to process how her slave candidate became the talk of the town so fast. She knew Milo was a wild card, but this is next level, to think he was actually hiding that much legendary potential all along. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to the grand and opulent main estate of the Evans family. A sea of perfectly manicured roses surrounds the grounds, proving their pure noble wealth. This is the Crimson Garden, where the most powerful families gather to gossip and scheme. High society tea parties are currently in full swing under the shade of the grand gazebos. Meet Rose Evans, the mother of the top-ranked Maximilian and a heavy hitter in the family hierarchy. She hides a sharp gaze behind her fan, clearly observing every move in this social battlefield. Meet Marilda Sterling. Arthur's mother is officially on the scene and she looks every bit as arrogant as her son. Olivia Wilson is clearly feeling the heat. Being the face of her house in a room full of predators is no joke. Rose Evans keeps it classy. She thanks the group for gathering despite the sudden invite to this high-stakes tea party. 3 families, 1 table, and a legacy on the line. The next war god is destined to come from one of these bloodlines. Merulda is not here for small talk. She understands the vibe of a friendly meetup, but she has an agenda to push. The shade starts flying regarding the Wilson family lack of an heir. Adopting a wild card like Milo is seen as a shameless last resort. Merulda does not hold back. She finds it straight up insulting that a former slave is suddenly the top pick for the title. Olivia is trying to hold her own while the noble families circle her like sharks. Merulda claims she is just discussing possibilities, but the shade is definitely real. Then she goes for the jugular, basically hinting that Olivia only got this far by flirting with the exam staff. This lady has zero chill. Rose finally steps in to play referee and suggests they drop the interrogation before things get even more awkward. Merulda just laughs it off and offers a fake apology. She goes back to her tea, acting like the conversation about a former slave is way beneath her. She claims Milo is not even worth her time. But of course she has to flex her family legacy. Since the Sterlings are pro-assassins, she is betting on Arthur using those dirty tricks to come out on top. The gloating stops immediately when a butler delivers some breaking news. Her smug expression completely melts as the reality of the situation sinks in. It turns out Arthur actually quit the trials. Merulda is losing her mind because her golden boy just threw their entire reputation into the trash. Merulda hits the exit button after that bombshell news. She claims some urgent business came up and bolts before the tea even gets cold. With the competition quitting, Rose notes that the race for the top spot is now a 2-horse game. High-ranking houses usually play dirty, but Rose wants a clean fight between their families. Olivia simply rolls with the conversation. The vibe is getting increasingly competitive as they focus on the remaining candidates. Rose drops a reality check on the table. She can tell that Olivia honestly believes Milo is on the same level as her own son. Olivia is stunned into silence by the blunt remark. Over at the academy, the Evans family makes it clear that the word defeat is not even in their vocabulary. Maximilian isn't just focused on the trials. For a guy with his talent, the war god title is barely even the main objective. Maximilian reveals that the legendary title of hero has already been promised to someone behind closed doors. Back in the gazebo, Olivia is left stunned as she repeats the word to herself. She admits she has never heard of such a rank in her life. Olivia asks if this status actually sits above the power of a war god. Rose notes that the information is technically a top-secret matter. Since she is in a good mood, she decides to give Olivia a special briefing on the history. The lore shifts to the global war against the demons. Every decade, the Allied nations combine their forces for a massive expedition to push back the common enemy. People live their entire lives in constant fear of these creatures. The ultimate goal for humanity is to eventually wipe them out for good. Even though the conflict was a stalemate for hundreds of years, Rose hints that everything finally started to move 3 years ago. She explains that whenever the world is on the brink, the gods send down a divine oracle through dreams. This prophecy foretells the rise of a savior, a literal hero with enough power to carry the entire human race on his back. The realization is heavy. Olivia asks if Maximilian is really the chosen one destined for that status. Rose treats it as a settled fact. To the Evans family, the concept of losing is nothing more than a myth. Shift to the 100 Marshall Hall. The tension is thick as the remaining candidates gather for the next big hurdle. Arrow Smith shouts for everyone to lock in. It is time for the 4th trial, and our MC is ready to see what is coming next. The instructor flashes a predatory smirk. He reveals that the next challenge is a straight-up dungeon crawl. The 4th trial is a giant dungeon maze constructed right in the center of the cavern hall. This death trap is loaded with savage monsters and enough floor spikes to turn the entire trial into a graveyard. Deep inside the maze sits a powerful minotaur, and the first team to take its head secures the victory. Arrow Smith is caught off guard seeing Milo lead a group. It turns out our boy recruited Jasper and his whole squad to watch his back. Suddenly, the MC is running the largest faction in the entire facility. Meanwhile, the top seed Maximilian Evans stands off to the side without a single ally. Arrow approaches the prodigy to ask why he is acting like a lone wolf, and if he has a problem with the others. Arrow cornered the top seed to ask if he even understood the point of the trial. A real war god is supposed to be a leader, not just a lone wolf. Maximilian didn't flinch. He admitted he brought enough people to meet the requirements, but he's choosing to run the dungeon solo anyway. Arrow asked why he was so obsessed with doing it alone. Maximilian just coolly replied that his team quit voluntarily, so no rules were actually broken. He looked away with a bored expression. He just doesn't like teaming up, and that's all there is to it. Arrow couldn't help but laugh at the kid's troublesome attitude. In the back, Milo was deep in thought about that solitary vibe as he remembered Valentina asking about the true meaning of a duel. Elsewhere in a vision of the past, the hero and demon king stand as solitary peaks of power. Both are meant to be unique existences that don't need anyone else. It comes down to a simple desire. They just want to find the strongest opponent and clash until they are satisfied. Olivia makes it clear she is a solo player who does not like crowds. They keep moving through the snow, leaving the noise behind. Our boy just smirks, seemingly on the same page. Looking down at the competition, our MC admits he expected this whole test to be filled with low-level scrubs. His eyes land on someone who might actually be worth his time. Maximilian stands out from the rest of the fodder with that heavy aura. The examiner lines everyone up at the gate, announcing there are only 4 teams in this run. Proctors will be tailing them to grade every move as soon as the clock starts. Staring at the massive labyrinth ahead, our boy notes how complicated the layout looks. He asks the supervisor if there are any specific conditions they need to meet to clear the place. The proctor does not sugarcoat it, saying everyone has to put their lives on the line for this one. He warns that the real challenge will be herding a group of useless people through the chaos. It all comes down to leadership and how the guy in charge decides to handle the pressure. Milo just smirks, realizing that every single mistake will be pinned directly on him. Milo accepts the risk, knowing the reward for absolute control is worth taking the heat. He flashes a devious grin as the proctor officially rings the bell for the 4th trial. Jasper is back there in full fanboy mode, dying to see how his lord is going to run the show. Our boy just ignores the main path and starts poking around a solid wall for a weak spot. Before anyone can ask what he is doing, he lets his blade fly with zero hesitation. A thunderous impact shatters the stone, turning the dungeon's reinforced wall into rubble. He stands among the wreckage, having just turned the entire maze into a straight line. Jasper is losing his mind and screaming at the proctor about how these walls were supposed to be indestructible. He points at the rubble, yelling that the entire place was built to be as tough as orichalcum. He tries to process the sheer absurdity of it all while watching his boss keep moving. He wonders why someone would choose to just walk through a wall instead of following the path. Our boy has zero respect for the architects and decides to go in a perfectly straight line. He treats every reinforced barrier like wet cardboard, slashing his way forward without breaking a sweat. Standing amidst the wreckage, Milo explains his simple logic to the stunned crowd. Making your own path is just the most efficient way to get to the finish line. The entire squad just collectively malfunctions. Their brains are fully fried after watching someone brute force a high-level maze like it is nothing. The 4th trial officially kicks off, dropping everyone into a massive circular maze. It is a high-stakes dungeon crawl designed to test every bit of their survival instinct. Lethal traps and savage monsters wait around every corner to weed out the weak. Only the most skilled candidates will even make it past the first few floors. At the very heart of the labyrinth waits the ultimate challenge, a colossal minotaur. Taking its head is the only way to prove your team is the absolute best in the facility. A thunderous boom echoes through the stone corridors as a reinforced wall suddenly disintegrates. Silas and the rest of the squad can barely process the fact that our boy is just making his own doors. Milo has zero interest in solving puzzles or following a map. He treats those indestructible orichalcum barriers like they are made of thin paper, slashing his way forward without breaking a sweat. Jasper's crew is fully hyped, realizing they are about to set a historical record that might never be broken. Even the supervisors watching the feed are starting to lose their minds. Elsewhere in the labyrinth, Maximilian Evans is making steady progress until a strange sound makes him stop. He watches in silence as a massive crack begins to spiderweb across the wall right in front of him. Maximilian barely lifts a finger, and the supposedly indestructible orichalcum wall spiderwebs into a million pieces. The instructor is losing his mind, admitting that in 20 years of coaching, he has never seen a candidate like this. Our boy just walks through the massive hole he made like it is a standard doorway. He is basically ignoring the entire point of the labyrinth just because he can. When the instructor asks how he is even doing this, Maximilian explains that everything has a seam. Whether it is a living being's weak point or the keystone holding a wall together, hitting that exact spot makes everything else irrelevant. He makes it sound like a walk in the park. According to him, once you find the connection point, destruction becomes the easiest thing in the world. The instructor is still reeling, wondering why someone this talented would even bother breaking walls when they could just breeze through the maze normally. Maximilian just keeps moving, clearly operating on a completely different level. For this dude, being at the top is the only option he accepts. He has been number one his entire life, and he is not about to let a simple trial break that streak. The supervisor is fully sold, realizing he is looking at a true peak player who never stops grinding. He sees the aura of a king in Maximilian, a guy who is already at the top, but still keeps pushing for more. Our boy Maximilian is radiating main character energy right now. The instructors are sold, admitting he has the aura of a king, worthy of the Evans name. Stopping in front of a random stone wall, he checks his map for a split second. According to him, the final boss is hiding right behind this barrier. With a casual tap of his finger, the stone starts to spiderweb. The supervisor is losing his mind, wondering if there's anyone on the planet who could stand a chance against this dude. The cracking sound intensifies as the reinforced wall prepared for the trial begins to fail. Nobody here is on his level and he knows it. In one sudden explosion, the barrier turns to dust. The boss monster waiting inside barely has time to react before Maximilian is on top of it. Maximilian stays stone-faced while the beast is overwhelmed in an instant, leaving the examiner paralyzed by the speed of it all. Shards of stone fly as the monster crashes into the dirt after a final impact. Looking at the wreckage, the instructor can only stutter in disbelief at the level of strength he just witnessed. A massive minotaur lets out a roar as its chamber is breached, but the boss is already toast. Maximilian is left speechless as he finds Milo already chilling in the final room. Our boy just smirks and tells him he was just a bit too slow. This is a massive reality check for a guy who has been number one his entire life. Up until now, he was the only one ever called a freak of nature. Most people thought it was only a matter of time before he surpassed the current war god. However, that untouchable aura is starting to crack. The examiner watches in shock as the crowd gives Milo the same terrified look they usually save for Maximilian. The tables have officially turned. For the first time since he was born, the chosen one has finally found a rival worth his time. The tension is through the roof. Back at the Evans main house, the family estate stands tall under the night sky. Back at the estate, a butler approaches Rose Evans with news about the trial results. She tells him to speak freely, even though Olivia is sitting right there at the table. Rose waves off the butler's hesitation, saying Olivia will find out eventually anyway. Watching them, Olivia is stunned by the absolute confidence Rose has in her son's victory. The butler unrolls the scroll and begins the report. Maximilian cleared the dungeon at a speed that completely defies common sense. By smashing through the reinforced walls to find the shortest path, he didn't just win, he shattered every historical record on the books. Rose is practically glowing with pride as she laughs at the news. This was exactly the level of dominance she expected from her boy. Olivia can barely keep her cool as she listens to the details. Breaking through dungeon walls is monster-tier strength that shouldn't even be possible for a candidate. The butler's expression suddenly turns serious. He pauses for a moment before admitting that there is an unexpected catch regarding Maximilian's performance. Rose is still wearing that smug smile, completely confident as the butler starts to wrap up the report. He confirms that Maximilian officially passed the exam in second place. The room goes cold as the butler drops the real bombshell. The top spot actually belongs to a guy named Milo, the representative for House Wilson. Olivia is stunned by the news while Rose sits there in a heavy, awkward silence. The mask finally slips. Rose's composure completely snaps as she lets out a scream of pure disbelief. She grinds her teeth in a fit of rage. To her, the idea of her son taking second place is a bad joke that simply cannot be true. Leaning forward, she demands to know if this report is actually legit. The butler can only bow his head and confirm the news, leaving Olivia speechless in the background. Olivia thinks back to her original plan. She only wanted Milo to participate as her adopted son for the sake of the family name, but he keeps delivering results that defy logic. Looking at everything he's accomplished so far, she finds herself wondering just how high this guy is actually going to climb. Olivia is crunching the numbers, realizing Milo's performance is enough to delete his slave status and fix his mother's reputation. She tries to keep things chill, but the tension in the room is already hitting the ceiling. Rose goes full hater, mocking House Wilson for being so desperate they had to recruit a slave relative just to save face. Leaning in with a terrifying look, she tells Olivia not to get it twisted because one win does not mean they've topped House Evans. She dismisses the entire dungeon record as nothing but a fluke that does not prove the boy's actual worth. Rose lectures her on how real power works, warning her not to lose sight of what actually matters for a warrior house. After a heavy silence, Olivia finally admits that she was a total skeptic when Milo first started showing his power. Milo's insane winning streak isn't just a fluke. Olivia is finally speaking her truth with total conviction. She drops the ultimate bombshell, claiming our boy is the only one who can actually gap Lord Maximilian. Rose is absolutely floored by the claim before letting out a tired sigh like she's done with the nonsense. The meeting ends in an instant as Rose stands up and kicks her out. The sudden cold shoulder leaves Olivia completely stunned. Fuming in her own thoughts, Olivia can't believe the nerve of being summoned just to be disrespected like that. She heads out as the two rivals share one last intense look from across the estate grounds. Even though she's sure her son is top tier, Rose knows it's time to start being extra cautious with her next moves. Merulda Sterling makes sure all the pieces are in place for her next scheme. Her butler confirms that every detail has been handled and the traps are set. This is exactly the kind of efficiency she expects. Everything is moving along perfectly. Somewhere else, the selection facility board is gathering for a high-level strategy session. Aerosmith takes the floor to outline the new direction for the trials. The spotlight is officially shifting toward the two heavy hitters, Milo and Maximilian. From this point forward, they will be the main axis of the entire selection process. Imposing the most insane challenges on these two outliers is the new priority. Forging them in the most extreme conditions is the only way to see their true potential. The ultimate goal is producing a warrior who completely shatters the records of every past war god in history. Arrow is living for the hype of seeing a new legend being born. He ignores the staff trying to slow him down and barges straight into the room to get things moving. An ancient elder with a legendary vibe stares down the room while leaning on his staff. He asks who they think they are dealing with. This is Walter Crawford, an elite elder of the Evans family who just crashed the party. Arrow is shaken, wondering why a heavy hitter like him is even here. Walter admits he heard the rumors about a trainee who can actually keep up with Maximilian. He leans in with a serious request that has Arrow looking stressed. The old man wants Milo and Maximilian to throw hands immediately to see who the real war god is. Arrow is not feeling the rush at all, arguing that these two need more training before a duel. The staff tries to shut it down by citing the rules, but Walter just looks at them like they are nothing. He asks the kids if they even know who he is. Walter breaks down the cold, hard hierarchy of the Evans family. At the very top sits the war god, supported by the elders and the four-sword emperors. A bombshell drops as the elder explains the rules of succession. If 7 specific elders agree, they have the power to override even a direct decision from the war god. Arrow breaks out in a cold sweat. He realizes the old man is trying to drag dirty family politics into the most sacred selection process in the world. The situation is already locked in because Walter didn't come here to negotiate. He has already secured the other 6 votes, turning his suggestion into an absolute order. Walter turns his back and starts to walk away without waiting for a reply. He tells Arrow not to take it personally, leaving the supervisor to grit his teeth in silence. The old man stops for one final icy remark. There is no way he will allow some random nobody to rise up and claim the title of war god on his watch. Arrow is left standing alone in the quiet hallway. As the gravity of the threat sinks in, he watches the elder disappear, knowing the gears of fate have just been forced into a new direction. Milo stays cool, asking for the exact schedule of this high-stakes duel. High noon in 3 days is the deadline, and the winner will officially claim the title of war god. Feeling the pressure, Arrow apologizes because he wanted more time to sharpen the MC's skills for a real fight. Our boy isn't worried and starts walking away, claiming he's already mastered everything the facility has to offer. Looking completely stressed, the supervisor questions if all that confidence is actually backed up by something real. Already cooking with a plan, Milo promises to end this whole selection process as fast as possible. Fast forward to the morning of the final duel, where the MC waits inside the candidate room for the main event. Arrow lays out the ground rules, restricting the match to wooden swords and physical skill. Victory is decided by either knockout or a clean surrender. Before they start, Milo speaks up to mention he has just one thing left on his mind. He looks Arrow in the eye and offers a sincere word of thanks for everything until now. It is a rare moment of respect for the instructor who actually did his job. With a firm handshake, Arrow wishes him luck in the coming duel. The friendly vibe is a nice break before the real chaos begins. As he walks down the quiet hallway, Milo suddenly comes to a dead stop. He calls out the Evans elder without even turning around. The old man is surprised he was spotted so easily, since he never actually introduced himself. Walter Crawford stands his ground, noting that Milo's ominous aura is basically a neon sign for his location. Milo locks eyes with the old man, finally putting a name to the face. This is Walter Crawford, one of the elite elders of the Evans family that Arrow warned him about. Walter studies the boy, noting that while he is a martial master, his energy is the total opposite of the serene vibe the original war god had. He can feel a dark, crushing pressure radiating from our MC. To the elder, it is like looking at a literal demon. Milo's aura is so foul and monstrous that it makes even a seasoned veteran feel like they are standing in the shadow of a nightmare. Walter admits he only came here because he heard someone was actually giving Maximilian a run for his money. He wanted to see the freak of nature for himself. The old man claims he senses a familiar dark scent on the boy. Milo is not in the mood for small talk and tells him to get to the point because he has better things to do. Walter tells him to relax and stop being so tense. He claims he just dropped by to ask for a tiny favor. The elder finally drops the act and makes his real request. He wants Milo to throw the upcoming duel and lose to Maximilian on purpose. Milo can't believe what he's hearing. This old man actually has the nerve to ask him to throw the match. Walter keeps it professional, offering a massive reward if our boy just agrees to lose on purpose. He promises that Milo and the Wilson family will be set for life, calling it a golden ticket they can't refuse. Milo finally connects the dots, realizing the entire duel was rigged from the start just to test his price. But Milo isn't a sellout. He snaps back, telling the elder he's not nearly rotten enough to settle for second place. While the elder's lackey loses his mind over the disrespect, Walter just laughs at the boy's sharp tongue. Walter watches him go, noting that the former slave has definitely developed the ego of a master. Milo walks down the hallway as the elder's words follow him like a curse. Walter thinks it will be hilarious to see Maximilian break that smug nose. The old man has a twisted look on his face. He is genuinely looking forward to the destruction. At the entrance, the guard checks in one last time to see if Milo is ready. Our boy just gives a sharp grin and says he is good to go. The massive gates slide open with a heavy groan as he steps toward the light. The arena is massive, and the label of War God candidate hangs over the entire event. Every spectator is leaned in, waiting to see who takes the title. Olivia and Rose watch from the VIP seats while the rest of the facility holds its breath. The special duel arena is finally open for the most anticipated fight of the year. The two rivals finally lock eyes in the center of the ring. Maximilian asks for a moment of his time before they get into it, and Milo tells him to go ahead. A flashback shows Maximilian as a crying infant. He was born with the weight of the world on his shoulders, destined to be a king from the very start. Maximilian explains that his entire life has been a non-stop grind for power. Every waking moment was spent swinging a blade, obsessed with becoming stronger every single day. Eventually, he found himself standing at a peak that none of his peers could touch. Back in the arena, he admits to Milo that he is actually afraid. This dude is convinced he is destined to surpass the current war god very soon. Constant sacrifice has turned him into a legend who stands alone at the top. Clenching his fist, he wonders what he should even aim for when there are no worthy rivals left. Our boy locks eyes with his rival, wondering if he has finally found an opponent who can handle his full strength. Maximilian stares back and demands that Milo proves he is actually worth the hype. A terrifying aura fills the stadium as the trainees realize these two are playing a different game. High in the stands, Rose Evans scoffs at anyone comparing her son to the legendary Sword Emperors. She knows this dude was born with a level of genius that naturally puts him above everyone else. Maximilian admits that since Milo stole his top spot, he has been expecting a lot from this duel. He lunges forward with an overhead strike, telling his opponent not to go down in a single hit. Maximilian narrows his eyes as he watches Milo stand perfectly still. He is waiting to see if our boy is actually going to move or if this is just a high-level trap. Deciding to commit, he lunges forward with a burst of speed. From his perspective, it looks like Milo is just too slow to even realize what is happening. Maximilian stares his opponent down with a look of pure letdown. He truly believed that this commoner might at least be able to reach his level. His grip tightens on the blade as he swings with everything he has. He is ready to end this duel right here and now. A massive collision sends a shockwave through the entire stadium, kicking up a wall of dust. Even Rose and Olivia are caught off guard by the sheer force of the impact. The dust clears to reveal a massive crater where the arena floor used to be. Maximilian looks on, muttering about how anyone calling themselves a king should be doing better than this. But then he sees it. Our MC has caught the blade with his bare hands. He flashes a cold smirk and asks his rival if that was really his full power. Maximilian is staring in shock, his brain buffering as he realizes his strongest strike was caught like it was nothing. Disbelief quickly turns into madness as he starts to let out a strange chuckle, a twisted smirk crawling across his face. The dude goes full crash-out mode, his face contorting into a demonic grin as he screams at the top of his lungs. He tells our boy not to get cocky, refusing to accept that some small-time trash could ever match his level. Duel finally hits its peak, both fighters stop holding back, with Milo tapping into full-body reinforcement, while Maximilian releases his true holy battle spirit. Maximilian's face is pure intensity as he stares Milo down. He is done playing games and tells our boy that this is his actual power. He lunges forward with a massive horizontal swing. Milo just stands his ground, watching the blade approach with total calm. Maximilian throws a flurry of strikes, but he cannot land a single hit. Even Arrow Smith is losing it, watching Milo dodge every lethal blow with zero wasted movement. The blade whistles past Milo's face in a series of close calls. He glides through the attacks like it is a game, keeping his eyes locked on his rival's every move. Milo takes a second to acknowledge the guy's effort. He looks Maximilian right in the eye and admits that he is actually strong. Our MC tells him that if they met at the martial arts hall earlier, things might have been a lot more interesting, but right now it is clear that Milo is the one in total control. Milo connects with a heavy strike that sends Maximilian reeling. The sheer force of the impact catches the prophesied hero completely off guard. Maximilian slides back to reset, but the gap in their strength is becoming impossible to ignore. Milo watches with total composure, noting that his combat level has surged way past his own expectations. Maximilian grits his teeth in frustration as he struggles to maintain his cool. Just as he prepares his next move, a high-pitched voice interrupts the duel with a ridiculous nickname. It is his mother, Rose, and she is fully panicking in the VIP area. She screams out to check if her son is okay while the arena guards desperately try to hold her back. Maximilian turns his head with a look of pure second-hand embarrassment. He tells her to cut it out and stop using pet names in front of the entire crowd. Rose apologizes for getting carried away, but the intense vibe of the duel is officially ruined. Maximilian tries to brush it off, telling her not to worry as he turns back to the fight. The embarrassment seems to flip a switch in his head, and his face twists into a dark smirk. He decides right then and there that it is time to treat Milo to something truly special. Maximilian admits he wanted to save this for a war god, but he is done holding back. The energy in the air starts to warp and multiply as his mana shifts. Milo can barely keep track as the guy blurs into several images at once. He officially drops the name of his trump card. Holy ability, Shadow Formless. Recognition hits our boy like a truck. He realizes this is actually Valentina's signature technique. Seeing a candidate use a skill reserved strictly for the hero makes zero sense. A smug smirk spreads across his face as he asks if the upgrade is impressive. He has 4 versions of himself ready for action. They form a perfect circle to trap him. Dodging from every direction at once is about to be a nightmare. Milo isn't even slightly pressed by the clones. He realizes this is Maximilian's trump card and starts sizing up the situation. Our boy breaks down the logic, noting that hitting the real body will shut the whole technique down. Maximilian isn't buying the tough talk. He thinks speaking about it and actually doing it are 2 very different things. The clones launch a coordinated attack from every direction. He mocks Milo, asking how long that calm facade is going to last. Milo is stuck in full defense mode, just trying to stay in one piece. Maximilian laughs at the struggle, taunting him to actually try hitting back for once. A dark smirk spreads across his face as he realizes Milo is falling right into the trap. It turns out every single clone in the circle is a total fake. The real body is already standing right behind him. Maximilian pops up right behind him with a psycho grin. "I'm right behind you," he sneers, letting Milo know the real body is finally in position. This is the true nature of Shadow Formless. The clones are nothing but a massive distraction while the real threat hides in plain sight. By using optical camouflage, the real Maximilian has completely vanished from the arena. He aims a lethal strike straight for the back of our boy's head. "It is your loss, Milo," he screams, fully expecting to end the fight right here. But the trap fails. Milo reads the move perfectly and delivers a brutal counter that sends blood flying everywhere. Maximilian is sent crashing back with a pained scream. As the damage hits, his shadow clones start crumbling into smoke. Milo stays calm, breaking down the entire trick. He explains that even if the body is invisible, things like footsteps and a physical presence are impossible to hide from a pro. Milo stays cool as he explains the flaw in the secret move. He mentions that Valentina always called Shadow Formless a basic parlor trick that only works on weaklings. Maximilian is forced to his knees in the middle of the arena. He clutches his chest, struggling to process how his ultimate move failed. The perfect hero finally snaps. He lets out a manic, wide-eyed scream as his mind unravels from the shock of being countered. Staring across the arena, Maximilian is in denial. He cannot believe that a commoner actually managed to see through his secret family technique. Our boy doesn't even break a sweat. He calmly tells the falling genius that he has known that specific technique for a long time. A single question from Milo turns the tables. He asks how Maximilian is even capable of using that move and offers to explain the truth behind it. Maximilian isn't interested in talking. He launches a frantic charge and screams that he will only listen if Milo can actually beat him. Maximilian is losing it, screaming that he is not done yet while Milo dodges every strike with zero effort. Our boy stays perfectly calm as he reads every desperate move the falling genius makes. Our MC decides he is done playing and lands a heavy blow that sends the genius candidate rolling across the floor. Maximilian can only cough up blood as the reality of the power gap finally hits him. High up in the stands, Elder Walter watches with a cold stare. He sighs to himself, admitting that their golden boy has reached his limit and cannot win this match. The old man signals to a specialized agent standing behind him. He gives a quiet order to move ahead with the backup plan immediately to save the family name. Back in the dirt, Maximilian is a complete wreck. He is trembling on his knees, unable to believe that a commoner is making him look like a total amateur. Milo walks up and tells him to face the facts. He suggests they end this little show since the difference in their strength is too obvious for anyone to ignore. Just as Milo moves to finish the job, the ground starts bubbling with dark energy. A swarm of shadowy hands suddenly burst from the floor, catching everyone off guard as the elders cheat to stop the match. Our boy suddenly freezes as dark energy coils around his limbs. He cannot even lift a finger, wondering what is holding him back. It is a high-level shadow bind, a dirty trick used to pin him in place. High up in the stands, Elder Walter lets out a nasty laugh. He is convinced this cheap move just handed Maximilian the win. The old man sneers at the thought of a former slave ruining their family legacy. He will do anything to keep the Evans name on top. Maximilian stares in confusion, realizing something is very wrong with the match flow. Milo looks down with a disgusted sigh, calling the whole display truly unsightly. Maximilian is left speechless, wondering if he is the one being called pathetic. The perfect hero completely snaps, shouting that there is nothing wrong with being ugly if it means victory. Maximilian lunges forward with everything he has got, but Milo just stands there with zero concern. Our MC admits he actually respected the dude's strength a little bit. The shadow hands tighten their grip, but Milo just scoffs at the weak attempt to hold him down. He asks if they really thought this low-level magic would actually work on him. With a burst of raw power, he shatters the shadow bindings like they were made of glass. The shockwave sends Maximilian flying back as the entire arena shakes. Maximilian cannot believe his ultimate move was just flexed away. Milo closes the distance in a flash, telling him that if this was really his best, it is a joke. Our boy looks him dead in the eye with a gaze that says the fight is already over. He drops the cold truth that the supposedly perfect hero is nothing but a disappointment. No more talk. Milo buries a heavy fist right into the guy's chest, ending the debate once and for all. Maximilian crumbles to the floor, gasping out his disbelief that he actually lost. The once proud candidate hits the dirt in front of the entire crowd. The entire arena is frozen in disbelief. Olivia can only stare as the reality of the upset sinks in. The announcer finally finds his voice to declare the winner. Maximilian is finished, face down in the dirt. Milo just stands over him, casually fixing his cuffs like he was just taking a light stroll. The name Milo Wilson starts echoing through the stands. Our boy looks unfazed by the victory. He knows the first part of the plan is done. Mission success. He thought it was all over, but the atmosphere starts to shift. Our boy glances toward the balcony as he senses a new challenge. A heavy pressure is coming from the elder stand. The old man looks like he is about to snap from pure rage. Milo just flashes a sharp smirk back at him, ready for whatever comes next. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, comment OP bro so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.